Hey everybody, thanks for being here. Just getting ready. Oh, there we go. Sending out the text message now. Got a good show today. Let's see here. Finishing up some last minute details. Oh, here's a little pre-show reminder. Today is the last day to sign up for the Canary Cry T-shirt Council for the first quarter. So if you want to get in. Now's the time. Get in, get your t-shirt. They'll be getting sent out at the end of this month, and then we start a new quarter. So if you want to get in at the ground floor of the Canary Cry T-shirt Council, go to canarycryt-shirtcouncil.com, and we'll be honoring signups that come in through midnight tonight. So go do that. We are so close to meeting our goal. I think we need, as of this exact moment, 6 new signups. 6 people. Come in, sign up, save the day. That'd be wonderful. Other than that, I think we're just going to get the show going, baby. It's time to go. Oh yeah, I see Danielle G signed up. Thank you, Danielle G. Yeah, I'll be screaming about you later on in the show.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is March 8th, 2023. We are live to tape on episode 599. And today, Jan 666. Signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And my name is Gonz, formerly of the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel, director of the Age of Deceit films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, a.k.a. the Cabana Boy, live to tape from California, to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's emergent phenomenon, Basil, well done, PSYOP. Those elite people, they're good at what they do.
It's about time they get the credit they deserve. That's the problem with being a shadowy, secret organization whose sole purpose is to, operate in clandestine means to influence society in undetectable ways, yet unstoppably marching towards the ends of your masters. Problem is, you just don't get the credit you deserve. So for that,
we're here for that.
We recognize you.
These are people's.
Yes. Great show today, folks. Thanks for being here. I'm going to mention it a couple times throughout the show. I will say, just because I do thank these people in our first little intro break, this is the last day. It's the deadline to sign up for the Canary Cry T-shirt Council and become part of the group, the shadowy organization, who does get the thanks they deserve. That's right. be screaming about how you're the most important person in the world if you go sign up at canarycryt-shirtcouncil.com. And yes, today is the deadline for the first quarter shipment. So get in there quick if you can. We actually came so close. We've never met a fundraising goal in our life, Guns. Sure. In our entire career, we've never met a goal when it comes to, these types of things, trying to keep the show going producer-wise. Yeah. But we might actually make this one. We only need 6 more people to sign up, and then we'll hit our first goal ever.
That should be a celebration.
Yes, we will.
Fulfilling a goal.
Yeah. All right. But other than that, we got a bunch of show to get to. So let's, go to canarycryt-shirtcouncil.com. And now let's open up that big old can of disclaimer.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up, YouTube.
That's right. And just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys. That's right. And let me give you a quick rundown.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
That's right. Well, the narrative wars are raging across the country. That's right. Tucker Carlson, Fox News have released never-before-seen footage of the January 6th insurrection. And man, oh man, is everyone else mad about it, that they didn't get to do it. But we'll be covering a little bit of the hullabaloo in regards to the unseen January 6th footage, which is funny because if you were listening to this show at the time live, we did watch it happen live, and it does sort of back up everything we've said about it. But other than that, Flippy's going to space again. We'll give you an update on the Flippy space wars, and then shift into a little bit Ukraine-Russia World War III updates. It is Wednesday. The Biden administration has some news on who committed the Nord Stream 2 pipeline sabotage, and we will be exploring a few different angles of the presentation of that information, and of course, pointing out how lying benefits governments. Then, second half of show, we're hitting the AI, personhood of AI. It is now a mainstream conversation. We'll give you an update there. Shillzilla is coming at you with a pandemic special. Maybe a little UFO news, a little witchcraft news. That's right, we're getting fringy in the second half of show. And then at the end there, we got a Nephilim update in regards to the Black Awakening. So stay tuned, but let's start out with those lead stories, Gons.
One of the things that we did when we started to do news talk more often was live stream, obviously like we are now. But when things happen live, we get to watch it. We did the Elon Neuralink thing live. January 6th was one of those things. We were sitting there, we were trying to record a podcast, but live on air, we were playing clips from PBS and watching the whole thing unfold.
Took over the show.
Yeah, and we saw how the mainstream was reporting it like it was 9/11, but then we were seeing footage of people walking around taking pictures and selfies and stuff. So it was like, okay, weird.
It was slightly later that they started talking about it as if it was 9/11. When it first started happening and they were kind of showing the live footage, it was very boring. It's just like, oh, look at all these crazy MAGA people thinking that they could do anything about anything. Ha ha ha, idiots. And then an hour later, when they started getting closer to the Capitol, it's like, oh my gosh, it's 9/11 all over again. It's a sad day.
Yeah. So, of course, most people have heard now the Tucker Carlson exclusive. This is March 6th, Fox News headline. Tucker Carlson releases exclusive Jan 6 footage. Says politicians, media lied about Sicknick. QAnon Shaman. So the main talking points there, Sicknick being one of the gentlemen who passed away from health issues, although I guess the coroner's report did mention how the stress of that day could have contributed to his health failure that caused him to pass away. I think it was
he was
day or two.
The Capitol police officer who died of either a stroke or a heart attack, like the next couple days.
Yeah. And of course, Tucker has a political reason for covering that story, and the footage of him looking lively and ushering people around in the Capitol when supposedly, according to Tucker, after he was declared dead. So who knows?
Well, that's interesting. I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's Tucker Carlson. So, but there's a few other things. Of course, the whole idea of a deadly insurrection. The QAnon Shaman thing, of course, is interesting, and we have clips of it, but honestly, it's sort of just stuff we know.
Just play the clips, show it around. I mean, this was one of the main things that Tucker focused on recently was showing the QAnon shaman getting escorted
around,
by a couple of police officers, and they were opening doors for him, showing him around. He walked through a whole crowd of cops at one point. There's like 6 of them or something, and nobody was trying to stop him. Really, more than anything, just showing that the mainstream narrative is crafted. And I think that's kind of the one thing that I do appreciate about the Tucker Carlson footage release, the footage drops, is that it does put on full display in the media the craftiness of how the narrative was created through the mainstream. Now, there are some suspicious things about Tucker Carlson in general. There's, a lot of suspicion about how close he might be to intelligence agencies. Of course, there's Project Mockingbird, suspicions, allegations. Sure. Project Mockingbird, the U.S. government, specifically through intelligence agencies like the CIA.
Let me correct you. Operation Mockingbird. Project Mockingbird was something different.
Oh, well, thank you for correcting me. Okay. Call it Operation Mockingbird. Yes, the government using the mainstream news media to, just lie to the American people, make things up whole cloth sometimes, just for population control. The common figure thrown around nowadays is that 3,000 members of the mainstream media industry are actual Mockingbird operatives, and of course brings into question all sorts of things. And Tucker Carlson, being the biggest cable news show in America, simultaneously hated and given backroom access to all sorts of things. He's certainly a candidate for Operation Mockingbird status, and it does call into question what is the strategy?
Sure.
What strategy would the government have? What would they gain from unveiling the fact that the mainstream media creates narratives out of whole cloth?
Right. And keeping in mind
who has what to gain.
Yeah, keeping in mind that Tucker himself is mainstream media. I mean, let's not pretend that he's not. That's the one thing that's so interesting is he's sort of appeals to the crowd that would not like mainstream media talking points, but is still mainstream media. So,
I mean, that is the genius of Tucker Carlson. That's what makes him such a useful asset to the government. Is he holds this position in people's minds as some sort of anti-establishment type of fella, but he is the #1 most watched host in the nation. Of course, he would be a perfect operative for the U.S. intelligence agencies. Yeah. So that's one thing we all have to keep in mind if this is, being unveiled in such a public manner. What's the play? What's the catch here?
Yeah. So just to clarify real quick, Project Mockingbird was the operation launched it's a wiretapping operation initiated by President John F. Kennedy to identify the sources of government leaks by eavesdropping on the communications of journalists. But Operation Mockingbird was a large-scale CIA thing that, the Cold War thing, deliberately creating false narratives. So
there it is.
Small detail difference.
Operation. Good to know. Good to point that out.
Yep. Okay, so we have a couple clips here. You wanted to play a little bit of the QAnon Shaman thing?
Just kind of fun. Why? I mean, just get a
little
visual
flavor
in
going.
there. Might as well.
Sure. Okay.
Kind of describe it.
These are the pictures you've seen of January 6th. They're familiar because they've been playing on a loop on every media outlet in America for the last 2 years. There's a reason for that. But it turns out there's quite a bit of video you haven't seen. And that video tells a very different story about what happened on January 6th. More than 40,000 hours of surveillance footage from in and around the Capitol have been withheld from the public. And once you see the video, you'll understand why. Taken as a whole, the video record does not support the claim that January 6th was an insurrection. In fact, it demolishes that claim.
Yeah, it keeps going here. Let me try to find the QAnon part, because this clip is 5 minutes long. It's the whole segment. I just clipped the whole thing. So I do believe they get into it back here. Okay, so they're talking about breaching the actual front here.
Capitol police officers fired tear gas into the crowd. A few at the front of the herd broke windows. Someone opened the doors, and many hundreds of others just walked in.
By the way, the QAnon Shaman is seen walking in at the very beginning of this breach, holding an American flag and everything. So yeah, he was at the front of the line for the whole fiasco. Tucker does not mention it, but I do think that he's trying to show that at least.
They're going to make that the story.
Of course, they did make it the story. And at the center of it, the single most famous person arrested that day was a Navy veteran from Arizona called Jacob Chansley, often referred to as the QAnon Shaman.
The so-called QAnon Shaman. QAnon Shaman.
Someone named Q Shaman.
Jacob Chansley became the face of January 6th, a dangerous conspiracy theorist dressed in outlandish costume who led the violent insurrection to overthrow American democracy. For these crimes, Chansley was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison, far more time than many violent criminals now receive. What did Jacob Chansley do to receive this punishment? To this day, there is dispute over how Chansley got into the Capitol building. But according to our review of the internal surveillance video, it is very clear what happened once he got inside. Virtually every moment of his time inside the Capitol was caught on tape. The tapes show that Capitol Police never stopped Jacob Chansley. They helped him. They acted as his tour guides. Here's video of Chansley in the Senate chamber. Capitol Police officers take him to multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him. We counted at least 9 officers who were within touching distance of unarmed Jacob Chansley. Not one of them even tried to slow him down. Chansley understood that Capitol Police were his allies. Video shows him giving thanks for them in a prayer on the floor of the Senate. Watch.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for giving the inspiration needed to these police officers to allow us in this building.
Contrast the reality of what Jacob Chansley did in the Capitol building on January 6th, the indisputable facts recorded on video, some of which has never before been seen, with the depiction of Jacob Chansley that you've seen in the media for more than 2 years. He's a terrorist, they said. He should be killed.
Shoot him.
Yeah.
All right, they get it.
Yeah, you get it. Okay, Tucker.
Calling for the murder of the QAnon Shaman. But yeah, this is not a surprise to any of us who were actually paying attention. And of course, this is going to be presented in a controlled way. It's not good enough that regular live footage that people saw from folks like us just watching to say something. It's got to come from Tucker. So the one thing that did interest me, this is a shorter clip. Tucker Carlson mentions the involvement of intelligence. Speaking of intelligence, right? We were kind of talking about how Tucker might have some ties there. This might be part of the playing dumb or, the immunity part of it. Listen to this here.
One of the enduring mysteries of January 6th is the role that intelligence and law enforcement agencies played in the events of that day. We know there was some number of undercover federal agents in the crowd at the Capitol. Officials have since admitted that under oath. But what exactly were they doing there? The January 6th committee worked hard to hide the answer to that question. We do know from contemporaneous videotape that a mysterious figure called Ray Epps encouraged the crowd to go into the Capitol. For some reason, Epps has never been indicted for that. But there's no question he did it.
We need to go into the Capitol.
Under public pressure, the January 6th committee finally interviewed Ray Epps. Epps told the committee that he never entered the Capitol and therefore never committed a crime. His text messages showed that at 2:12 p.m., he boasted to his nephew that he had, quote, orchestrated the protests at the Capitol. He admitted he helped get people there. Yet, curiously, congressional Democrats consider Ray Epps an ally, not an insurrectionist. Tonight we can tell you that at the very least, Ray Epps lied in his sworn testimony to the January 6th committee. Epps testified that when he sent the text messages to his nephew, he had already left the Capitol grounds to return to his hotel room. That is not true. The surveillance footage we found shows that, in fact, Ray Epps remained at the Capitol for at least another half an hour. You're seeing that on your screen now. What was Epps doing there? We can't say, but we do know that he lied to investigators. The January 6th committee likely knew this too. Democrats had access to the same tape, yet they defended Ray Epps. No honest investigation would do that. But the point of the January 6th committee was never to investigate anything. The point was to stage a made-for-TV show trial.
Okay. I don't think we need to watch any more of that.
Well, that's the end of that clip.
Yeah, I mean, it's very suspicious, man. I mean, we have to assume that Tucker is playing a role, and he's being paid to play a role. He plays the role very well, and there has to be some benefit to the power structure. It makes no sense. So, the fact that this is not the first time he's talked about Ray Epps. This is not the first time he's talked about anything. I mean, this is happening coincidentally right at the same time that lots of other media organizations are going after Fox, specifically for the election fraud claims and Dominion voting machines, things like that. They are right in the middle of that whole lawsuit there.
Yeah, as part of that, they had the Tucker smear campaign ready because Newsweek, was it the
CNN?
CNN, oh, that's right, CNN.
Yeah,
reported. Well, they reported on Tucker Carlson texting with a producer about how he's tired or he's sick of Trump or something like that. So that was a part of the hit piece there.
Passionately hates Trump.
Passionately hates Trump.
CNN.com. Right. Tucker Carlson passionately hates Trump, and 8 more key revelations about Fox News from the Dominion filings. Right. So you've got the release of the Dominion case here, which is mainly a media storm about how allegedly, Fox News did not believe any of the election fraud claims from Trump, but despite that, went ahead and did a whole bunch of reporting on it. They say that Fox was endorsing the idea. Fox anchors say they were just reporting on the idea. Of course, whatever. Who knows? Who cares? And Murdoch himself comes out and is sort of saying like, I don't know. It wasn't really Fox policy to endorse the election fraud stuff, but
he said they went too far.
Some of our anchors took it too far.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of CNN, they were very upset that they were not the chosen ones to be breaking the footage and reviewing the footage. And so listen to this anchor from CNN, just the introduction here, her attitude a little bit, but talking about the, I don't know if it's jealousy. There's something, I don't know. There's a weird vibe.
We are watching Fox News and how they are getting special access to footage from January 6th. This is something that premiered last night on Tucker Carlson's show. And what appeared to be an attempt to rewrite what happened on January 6th is they revealed a portion of the 40,000 hours of footage that was given to Fox News and only to Fox News by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Tucker Carlson aired a portion of the video talking about what happened that day in what appeared to be an attempt to sanitize it.
Sounds really bitter and pouty,
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other media outlets, they are mad. They are so mad that they didn't get a chance. Now, McCarthy, who released the footage to Tucker Carlson, said he's going to make it broadly available to all other news organizations, but didn't say when that would happen.
Right. So,
but it's a big scoop for Tucker.
Yeah. So back to the CNN report here. they go in and interview this lady from Axios, and she had some interesting things to say. I think she was talking too much, to be honest.
This is CNN media analyst and Axios media reporter Sarah Fisher. We knew this was coming. We knew that he had gotten access to this, and you've seen Kevin McCarthy say that he is trying to widely disseminate more of it, but so far they've only given it to one outlet.
Yeah, he says it was an exclusive to Fox News. But the problem, Caitlin, is that an exclusive is done so that you can set the tone of a story. Once you give it to other outlets, of course, CNN, Axios, others are going to try to analyze it the best that they can, and their analysis will definitely look different.
Oh, it's definitely going to look different, guys. It's like, of course it's going to look different. Yeah. You live in a completely different universe from normal people. Once we
get our hands on it, you'll know. Don't worry, everybody. You know what we're going to say about it, and it's going to be different than Fox.
It's going to be way different.
But now a narrative has been set. Don just was holding up a New York Post that shows the tour de farce. This is an example of when you give an exclusive, how the narrative is set for the next day and the next coming days. And remember, Tucker Carlson said he's going to release more footage tonight, so it's not like we're going to get that access immediately. I mean, my take on it is if Kevin McCarthy thought that there was something really problematic in the way that the media writ large covered January 6th and that these tapes disproved it, you'd give it to your colleagues in Congress and you'd let them run an investigation on it. You wouldn't do an exclusive leak. But let's take a 30,000-foot view. I cover media, I cover tech. This is becoming a bigger trend. You have Elon Musk handpicking journalists that he's going to do these big doc dumps with so that they can set a narrative around what's happening there. You have Kevin McCarthy doing the same thing at Fox. This is how you create this shock and awe factor so that you can recreate the narratives that you want. It's the new tactic for people in power. So don't expect this to go away. Moving forward, expect a lot of people in power to pick their favorite outlets and journalists and do these leaks.
I just keep coming back to the people who died.
The people who died. Oh, you mean Ashley Babbitt?
No, they're not talking about Ashley Babbitt. They're talking about Sicknick. Sicknick.
Yeah. Oh, the cops who had heart attacks and strokes over the next 7 days. Yeah, that is sad, I guess.
Yeah, it's just funny how this Axios lady, she's going off about how, this is how the elite do it now. They pick their favorite journalists, and just being upset that either she wasn't picked or someone at CNN or Axios wasn't picked or whatever gripe she has there.
Right.
But then you can hear the producers in the back, you're showing a little bit too much of the inside of the sausage. Go to the death. Go to the dead people. Let's go. Let's transition back to the dead.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
It is hilarious. I mean, and some of the responses from Schumer and other specifically Democrat politicians, just openly calling for censorship of the of the footage. Like they should ban showing the footage. Don't give the footage to anyone else. Fox should take down Tucker's show, and this open call for the elimination of transparency around in their own words, like one of the most important moments in American history. Yeah. But that's why we still have footage of 9/11 that still hasn't been seen by the public.
I was wondering about that. What are the legalities? Because it's a public place, shouldn't I would think that a lot of it should be public, all that footage, but I guess not.
I don't know. I mean, it's McCarthy was the one that released it, so apparently he has some say in it, and he's putting it out there.
Hey, McCarthy, why don't you just put it in a zip file and drop it on I don't know, what's an open source thing out there?
I have no idea. I actually lost you for a second, so I don't even know where you're going with this. All right. So, certainly this is going to dominate the headlines for a week or two or three or four as more media outlets get their hands on the footage, and the battle rages on. I'm sure there will be more about this. And it's convenient timing, too, because there's lots of things going on in the world to distract from. So, if nothing else, Tucker's doing a great job of taking everybody's attention away from, the oncoming war with China and over Taiwan and et cetera, et cetera. What do you say? Should we get?
Yeah, let's move on. But just one quick thought that I just want to wrap this up with is that the question about the availability of the footage is sort of creating a desire from the general public to make more of this type of footage available openly and freely. And that serves a sort of virtual panopticon where we're watching each other's behavior, and we should all be able to monitor all of our own behavior and control it. So anyway,
it's interesting. It's an interesting angle to it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What day is it? It's Wednesday. Oh, it's Wednesday. I am not prepared. It's a bad Wednesday. It's a slow Wednesday.
Good Wednesday. Fast Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. Wednesday.
Hey guys, what day it is? It's Wednesday. It's time for the Canary Cry News Talk.
Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Woo!
WMD. It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Yeah.
And let's see here. Anything exciting happened the past couple days for you?
Nothing terribly exciting. However, I do have something to share with you, Basil.
I'm watching the sports. Sports did good. Ooh, did the ball go?
Do you know Steve Ballmer? Do you know who that is if I just say the name?
No.
You don't? Okay. He is the current owner of the Los Angeles Clippers. You know, the stepchild of the Lakers. You know, Lakers are the real Los Angeles team. The Clippers are kind of the, So he's creating, Steve Ballmer, who is the former Microsoft. He was one of the founders of Microsoft. He's creating a new stadium. I think it's called Intuit Stadium or Intuit Arena or something like that. And they broke ground, and he's giving his speech about the new facility. And I think he has been listening to our show because he has some tips here.
Toilets! 1,160 toilets and urinals! 3 times the NBA average number of toilets and urinals! We do not want people waiting in line!
Oh, he is...
Toilets!
He is hyped up.
Hyped.
Yeah.
Toilets!
I mean,
Toilets.
I think he listened to the show and he had an epiphany. He's like, oh, that's going to be the marker of how we're going to separate ourselves from the rest of the league. We're going to have 3 times the number of toilets and 3 times the amount of data collection on all the sewer stuff happening and seeing how our genetically modified food is engineering their bodies.
Yeah, and sewer surveillance, keeping an eye out for COVID and other.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can monitor the COVID levels of your audience, and you can figure out what seat. What.
I've only been to a couple big time sports ball games in my life. And I don't remember. I went to Candlestick Park once.
Ooh,
and used the urinal troughs.
The troughs, yes. The very uncomfortable, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's old school.
But you're more of a sports guy than I. Is that enough to get you stoked about this new stadium?
Not as stoked as Steve Ballmer, but that is a thing when you're at a game is, hey, I don't want to miss the game, but I don't want to be in the crowd. Like when you go into halftime or in between quarters, everybody tries to go to the concession stands or the toilet or whatever. So it's a real crowd. You got to wait in line and stuff like that. So it is a thing. So I can understand that as a frequent arena or sports ball goer and owner of a team, that he would be stoked about toilets.
Toilets!
Sounds like it's a kind of a personal issue for him. It's like that's why he got into it in the first place. He was at a game.
Just to have toilets.
Even in his VIP box, he had to wait for the toilet. Maybe he had a whoopsie doodle. He was on a date or something and got embarrassed.
Really passionate about toilets.
Decided it's personal for him.
Yeah.
Well, good for him. That's very exciting. Not a whole lot going on over here, except for it's baby chicken season. Woo! I got trying my hand at some baby chickens. I got four little chicks, and I can't remember the names of them.
Oh, that's not good. You're a horrible parent.
No, the kind of chicken. But I got a couple of the ones with like the furry legs and the afro.
Hey, it's the Joe.
Yeah.
The Joe Biden.
The hairy legs
Joe Biden
chicken.
Chicks.
Yeah. I got some exotic chickens that I'm going to be trying to keep alive here.
Yeah, they're children, right? They're little chicks, but keep them away from other children.
They're so tiny. Yeah. They're so cute. So yes, I'm trying my hand. I figured before I have a human child, I'll see if I can bring some chickens from chick to productive hen.
I know somebody that needs to get rid of their ducks. Would you be interested in a couple ducks?
I would. I don't know. I've thought about ducks, and ducks sound fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have enough of a body of water for ducks to thrive.
Okay.
Could fill up a kiddie pool or something.
I think your situation is going to be better than the current situation for the ducks.
Well, the current situation, they live in a bathroom, in a bathtub?
Pretty much, yeah.
Technically, this would be better than a bathtub. So,
yeah.
So far, every animal that I've taken on has been basically a refugee animal from somebody else.
They got tattoos, scars.
Yeah,
they got stories,
they're
man.
Sort of war-hardened goblins. Coming to it's like Basil's wayward, or it's Basil's home for wayward farm animals so far.
Yeah.
So we can talk about ducks. We can talk.
All right. Yeah. We'll talk later.
Speaking of ducks, we're going to thank some executive producers.
Executive producers.
That's right. Quack, quack, everybody. We're on the value for value model, which means we take no corporate money whatsoever. No advertising, affiliate codes, platform partnerships, nothing. Value for value means we create value. We do the very best we can as often as we can. And if this show brings any value to your life, perhaps it's opening your eyes to the schemes of the enemy. Perhaps it is simply a dad joke here and there. Or maybe you just love staring deeply into my large googly eyes. Whatever it is, whatever value this show brings to your life, consider putting some value back in, because it's the only way that it works. It is a revolution to take power out of the hands of corporations, because as we know, corporate money equals corporate incentives. And I heard a great quote recently, and I'm going to butcher it, but it was something like, where motivation converges, conspiracy isn't needed. Meaning, if incentives are such that a group of people all work towards the same goal, you don't need a conspiracy. And that's a lot of what we see with corporate media is, whoa, is that like a Confucius say gong?
Yeah. The mind is being blown up.
The mind-blown gong. Whereas, sometimes there is conspiracy. Other times, incentives are such that you don't need conspiracy, because it puts people in the position to work towards the same goal. And that's what corporate money is. It's that profit motive where they don't need to control a message. You get corporate money involved, and
just naturally do it. It's become second nature. It's like Satan and Newsom.
Get in line. Exactly. You're not going to ruffle any feathers. So, anywho, we ruffle a lot of feathers here, and that's because we are entirely funded by the producers. And producers are people who get value from the show and put value back in. And you can put value back in with your time, your talent, or your treasure. Lots of ways to do it. But the execs are people who come in and are generous with the value that they receive and put back into the show. So we're going to thank them now. You ready?
Okay.
Starting with, this is exciting. We have executive producer Sir Martin K, Night of the Wrong Timeline.
Hey, Sir Martin K.
Yeah, and Martin K, he is on a 2-episode executive producer streak.
Oh, so he's on an executive streak.
Executive streak. There you go. Part of a small faction of producers who have become executive streakers. Well, we're glad you're here. Thank you very much, executive producer Sir Martin K, Night of the Wrong Timeline. He sent a note here, quite a note, and he said we don't have to read the whole thing, although I'm not sure which parts to read and not to read, so I'm just gonna guess. This is sort of in response to his note from last episode, but it says this: Basil, you almost got the mail right again, but Gonzo was goofing around and showed the wrong pics. He showed the wrong pics.
Okay.
Do Do you have the right pics?
I hope so. I'm grabbing.
They're in the email.
I see the email. I see the attachments.
Recent.
But I got to tell you, that's exactly what I did last time. I had an email and I grabbed the attachments. So who knows if I'm doing it right or wrong, or computers. Computers are. Okay. We need the AI.
All right. Okay. Let me finish. Okay. I'm sending the right pics again with this mail, and you can also find them in the mail I sent to you with the description title. Spring is here. If you can show the right ones again and see if you can find the ones with the temple upgrade, I would be so happy, because the other ones made no sense and made me look like a annoying QAnon. You can just show them in the art section of the news, so we don't need to slow the flow of the show down. Okay. I don't know. What do you want to do? You want to do it
got
now?
Him here.
You got them. Yeah, you can go ahead and show those. And then he comes in with an explanation about the AOC joke. And this reminded me. He says, I'm just continuing the joke I started when I sent you the notorious banged up and bruised Rihanna box back in the day. He was the fella who sent us the candies, the chocolates that got completely destroyed in the mail.
Oh, yeah.
You remember this?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
The one with the pics and the chocolate. Mm-hmm. And I think he sent like a whole bunch of crazy stuff in that package. And there was a letter where I wrote a little love poem at the end. And the love poem ended with, "Oh, AOC, you and I were never meant to be. I don't know what to do because Basil already called dibs on you." Yes, I remember now. Yes, boys, you have to be good on your top game in this little joke battle of wits and mind, because I'm already playing 5G Chinese chess against Biden, Putin, and Trump. LOL. Wow, that's intense. Yeah. Sorry about this long email, and bless both of you for the work you're doing. Yours truly, Martin Case, Night of the Wrong Timeline.
Thank you.
Where'd you find this?
Yeah, and the pictures he sent, where it looks like, what is that, a Masonic temple or something, getting under some sort of construction? What are we looking at here?
I don't know. There's 4 of them. Which one are you talking about?
I don't know. I'm just looking at all 4.
There's some grass.
Yeah.
There's a building.
This temple picture looks familiar. I think he may have sent us a picture of this building before. Maybe in his, in that package.
You're looking at the one with the guy on the bike?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And if you zoom way in,
you can see the logo on the building there.
It's like a
square and compass type.
Yeah, it's an interesting Masonic sort of rendition. It's got the square and compass, but where the G would be, it has like 2 crossed guns, or those like muskets?
Yeah, something. And then a Jewish, or not Jewish, but the Star of David, the 6-pointed star at the top.
Yeah, and then it has SCT and can you get
Andreas
Ordinen. This is in another language. We don't know what this is, but it looks like some sort of Masonic temple there. Okay. The guy on the bike is looking interesting. He's wearing like striped pants.
And some Adidas.
Oh, yes, you're right. It's the Adidas. I thought he was wearing some sort of uniform or something.
You can see the moon in the background too. You want to really break it down. You got the moon up on the corner.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, thank you very much, executive producer Martin K. Not of the Wrong Timeline, for supporting the show, and congrats on the executive streak there. We got another. Oh, you want to play him as jingle?
I already did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next up, we got executive producer Felicia D.
Felicia D. Thank you, Felicia D.
Thank you very much. Felicia D also comes in with a nice round number. Just so everybody knows, if you produce the show with a nice round number, you're telling us not to disclose the amount. If you don't mind us disclosing the amount, you make it some sort of weird, funky number. And, Marty did explain also that the weird number he came in with last time was a product of what's the word? Currency exchange.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was trying to come in
of currency exchange.
Right. So, okay. Thank you very much to
you guys. Just start using the blockchain. Just everyone use the blockchain. It'll just all work.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our 2 executive producers for making this show possible.
Felicia D, thank you.
Where'd you find this?
I think I scared you.
You did. It was so aggressive. Whatever that was very I thought maybe something wrong was happening.
I think Steve Ballmer's toilet rant's getting me really amped.
It is getting you amped.
Gotta match that energy.
You know, it's getting me amped, Gons. Sound the alarm, because we've got some new members of the Canary Cry T-Shirt Council.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Flippy. That was
No
totally
way.
Off. Totally off.
Oh. There we go. There we go. Yes, that's right, folks. Today is the day. It is the deadline to sign up for the Canary Cry T-Shirt Council for the first ever T-shirt council meeting to decide what the first ever Canary Cry T-shirt council T-shirt will be. Yes, the Canary Cry T-shirt council, the shadowy organization, the hidden hands moving behind the scenes to decide what the Canary Cry News Talk T-shirt will be. And not only do they help decide that, but they also receive the shirt for free. That's right. If you support the show for $19.84 per month, you are on the council, help us make decisions, and also receive shirts once a quarter. That's 4 times a year, baby, because truth never goes out of style. There's still time. You can go join. And Gons, we just keep inching closer to our first ever fundraising goal.
Yeah, it's a game of inches.
So close. But I've got some very important people to thank. Are you ready?
Ready, yeah.
Most important person in the world, Justin M.
Justin M. Thank you very much.
Followed by another most important person in the world, Emily C.
Emily C. Thank you.
Table. We've got most important person in the world, Mr. Jason.
Mr. Jason.
Yeah. Robes. We've got the most important person in the world, William M.
William M. Thank you.
Yes, making decisions and holding a gavel above their head. We've got most important person in the world, Sanford R.
Sanford R. Good thing not
Stanford.
Stanford.
Not to be outdone, the very good looking, the very tall, very fashionable, the most important person in the world, Daniel G. Danielle G.
Danielle or Daniel?
Daniel? I don't know. Daniel.
Daniel.
By the way, Daniel G is in the chat today, so we get a very special shout out to Daniel G. And they asked for a demooching, so they do get a demooching.
Thank you,
there
Daniel G.
Thank you very much. Demooched. Congratulations. Love to see it. But we've got more people to thank. Most important person in the world, Joe T.
Joe T.
And then here they come. It's the most important person in the world, Timur G.
Timur.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to say.
Timur.
Thank you, Tim. Not to be outdone, we've got most important person in the world, Sonia S.
Sonia S. Thank you.
And coming in during the show, making it happen, we've got most important person in the world, Phoebe D.
Phoebe D. Phoebe or Phoebe?
There we go.
Phoebe?
I think it's Phoebe.
Phoebe.
Phoebe?
Phoebe?
Sounds like a squishy toy that would be advertised on Nickelodeon in the 90s.
Yeah, if I was a professor, that's what I would do too.
Let's see here. How many was this? 3, 6. Okay. 9, 10. We are officially like 3 people away from meeting our goal. So come on, folks. 3 more signer-uppers by the end of the show. That's what we need. I believe in us. I believe in you. Don't leave us hanging. Not only will you join the illustrious Canary Cry T-shirt Council, but you will also be there on the historic day that we, for once in our lives, meet some sort of fundraising goal. So thank you very much. Go to canarycrytshirtcouncil.com to help us out. And keep an eye on your email box because we'll be sending out some secret missives to the T-shirt Council in the next couple days. All right, we better get on with the show here. Flippy.
We're gonna finish. All right, Flippy?
Yes.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right. It's the Flippy update. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world and how there's nothing that we can do about it. Today's Flippy update is coming from BBC.com. BBC. See what the UK has going on. The headline is Robot Arm Would Grab Defunct British Satellite from Orbit. Flippies in space, Gons. We've got another space Flippy. Space. That's right. We want to give a shout out to Canada Arm 2, the most beloved product in space from Canada. Yes, Canada Arm 2 is the infamous gigantic robotic arm floating around on the International Space Station. Canada, we helped. The article goes like this. The Astroscale UK company has unveiled its concept to remove a defunct British satellite from orbit. The Oxfordshire-based company wants to send up a sophisticated robot arm to grab hold of the dead hardware.
It's a cube.
This is what I love, okay? We've been tracking robot arms in space. We got the Russian arm, we got the Canada arm, we've got the Chinese arm, and always shaping up to be an exciting three-way arm wrestling championship battle for domination of space. But coming into the ring, we've now got a British robot arm, and I think it's appropriate that this particular robot arm be sophisticated. He's a fancy lad robot arm from the UK.
Time in space.
As we continue to watch the robot arm death match that's going to happen in space, kind of like a good 80s movie where every fighter who enters the ring is a different, from a different country, and so they have the characteristics of the country. The Russian robot arm is kind of burly and likes vodka. The Chinese robot arm can do karate.
Karate is Japanese. Stop culturally appropriating the wrong
The Canada
thing.
Arm 2, of course, is wearing a red flannel shirt and is riding a moose. And now we've got the sophisticated Lord Robotington Armington coming into the ring here. This junk, going back to the article, this junk would then be sent downwards to burn up the atmosphere. The UK government is running a competition to find the best solution to clear up historic debris. The winner will demonstrate its technology in late 2026 or early 2027. So just in time for
World War III.
World War III, when China invades Taiwan. The sophisticated UK robot will be going into space. Now, this might sound familiar because we have examined Chinese robot arms that their whole goal is to remove space debris and throw it down into the atmosphere to burn up. Yeah. And of course, the U.S. Military brass is worried that the Chinese will use this to sabotage U.S. satellites for military purposes. But so it's about time the West has their own sort of robotic arm grappling champion. The UK Space Agency is also looking at plans being developed by ClearSpace. This Swiss company, too, has a UK subsidiary that has received R&D funds from the agency. There's an ever-increasing amount of garbage in orbit, everything from old rocket engines to accidentally dropped astronaut tools and even flecks of paint. And with thousands of satellites due to be launched in the next 5 years, there's a fear that without active cleanup services, some parts of the sky could soon become unusable because of collisions. So they are straight up talking about space janitors, robotic armed space janitors becoming a viable industry. Astroscale is a Japanese company with a major division based in the Harwell Science and Space Campus. This British team has released details of its so-called cosmic mission, which is its entry into the government contest. Cosmic stands for Cleaning Outer Space Missions Through Innovative Capture. That's nice. That's a good one.
Pretty good. Yeah, took him an afternoon to come up with that one.
It would see a 600 to 700 kilogram spacecraft launch into orbit to chase down and grab hold of long obsolete satellites that is now wandering through space uncommanded. The idea is for a robot arm to reach out and lock onto the target to bring it under control. This is by no means easy. That's right. Yeah. We're doing some robotic arm UFC in space with some satellites. Now, of course, they don't bring up the concept that, sure, yeah, we're making robot janitors to clean up some space debris, but also we need the ability to grapple Chinese spy satellites and send them hurtling down back to Earth.
Yeah, or maybe it's more subtle than that, just unscrew something on one of the Chinese satellite systems.
Sure, or screw something in.
Or screw something in, sure.
Now, Canadarm2 gets a mention, so I want to give them the due. You'll be the first space, you are the first space arm in our hearts, Canadarm2. The arm is to be supplied by the UK branch of the Canadian company MDA, which is famous for its Canadarm2, the robot arm that's involved in all the major maintenance tasks on the outside of the International Space Station. The cosmic mission is at the preliminary design review stage. In its rival plans, Clear Space has a tentacle-like arrangement that would do the capture. So we've got another company entering the ring, and this is more like a spider. It's like a box with some crazy skeletal-looking tentacles. Now, so they named a few different companies getting involved with this, but it ends like this. Whoever come out on top between Astroscale and Clear Space, the intention is that both companies will have benefited sufficiently from the effort to cement an early foothold in what's likely to be a burgeoning market in the coming decade. So they're saying no matter who wins this contract, both companies will be, ready to dominate in the space janitorial industry. Quote, I think if we can steal a march, we can put UK industry in a very, very strong position, said Ray Fielding, who's overseeing matters at the UK Space Agency. Quote, depending on what reports you give and give weight and credence to, there's going to be an estimated 30,000 to 50,000 satellites in orbit by 2030, which is only 7 years away. Some of those satellites will be lost, and they will need to be removed. They will be removed. They will need removal. Oh my gosh, my brain is breaking. Because the satellite broadband company OneWeb is based in the UK, Britain is now responsible for more active spacecraft in orbit than any nation other than the US. We're number one. We're number one, where you got a lot of space trash. OneWeb is flying over, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? The defunct targets for the competition have not been chosen yet. So we got a battle. We've got a battle of the space robot arms, Gons. And I think it's interesting how the U.S. technically does not have its own space robot arm. We've done a good job of letting pretty much the entire world battle over who has the coolest arms. But I think it's about time that the U.S. get in the ring.
Maybe they already have their rods of God. So they're kind of like, well, we will be the ones to pierce the arms.
Yeah. No, they're like, world, we make the trash, you clean up the trash. That's the American way.
There it is.
Yeah, so there you go. More robotic arms in space, folks. There's going to be more robotics arms in space than there are astronauts, and that is just the way that the robots want it.
That'll happen quick, allegedly.
That's right. Okay. There's your Flippy update for the day.
And you shall hear wars and rumors of wars.
Fight for Ukraine. New world order.
The New York Times is carrying an article titled, Intelligence suggests pro-Ukrainian groups sabotaged pipelines. U.S. officials say. So now the narrative, according to intelligence, is that there was a pro-Ukrainian group. How did they organize? What's the story?
This is great. Now, don't jump the gun yet, Gons, because just so
I don't think I'm
everybody
jumping anything.
Oh, you're jumping. You're jumping. You're hyped. You're hyped. This is fun because, of course, the second the Nord Stream 2 pipeline blew up, we knew that the U.S. did it. Of course, they never admitted it, but it got blamed on Russia.
Joe kind of admitted it. Joe was like, we'll come and get you. And it's like, how? We got ways.
Yeah, well, that was last year. That was in 2022. Of course, Russia got blamed for it. Even some Polish politicians and stuff sort of thanked the U.S. For doing it. But there's never been an official thing. And then, of course, Cy Hirsch came out with an incredibly researched article about how it was the U.S. with the help of Norway that took it out. And you know what? Just in time for whatever is going on out in the world today, the Biden administration comes out and says, no, it was Ukrainians. Okay.
So, all right. So, well, not just any Ukrainian. New intelligence. By the way, this article reads like a intelligence memo. The number of times they say U.S. officials in intelligence is very interesting. New intelligence reviewed by U.S. officials suggests that a pro-Ukrainian group carried out the attack on the Nord Stream pipelines last year, a step toward determining responsibility for an act of sabotage that has confounded investigators on both sides of the Atlantic for months.
I don't think that's true, but okay.
New York Times, though.
Nobody's confounded by this.
New York Times. Well, if you don't want to admit the facts, then you are confounded. U.S. officials said that they had no evidence President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine or his top lieutenants were involved in the operation, or that the perpetrators were acting at the direction of any Ukrainian government officials. Okay, so they're saying that they're pro-Ukrainian is very clever because it doesn't mean they're Ukrainian. It just means they're pro-Ukraine. There's pro-Ukrainians in America.
Yeah,
could be anybody.
The Biden administration is pro-Ukrainian. The U.S. That's the fun part about this. As they continue to talk about it, we know it was the U.S. Now, maybe was it the U.S. sort of backing a group of Ukrainians? Who knows? Maybe. But it's obviously a U.S. With everything they say about this, they never say anything that would exclude the United States' involvement. So, just keep reading and keep that in mind as they keep explaining it.
The brazen attack on the natural gas pipeline, which linked Russia to Western Europe, fueled public speculation about who was to blame, from Moscow to Kyiv and London to Washington, and it has remained one of the most consequential, unsolved mysteries of Russia's year-old war in Ukraine. It's a murder mystery, Basil. This whole thing.
It's so exciting.
It's a big murder mystery. Ukraine and its allies have been seen by some officials as having the most logical potential motive to attack the pipelines. Appeal to logic.
Ukraine
I like that.
And its allies.
Yes, like the U.S.
Like the U.S.
has been seen by some officials as the most logical potential motive to attack the pipelines. Yes.
I think this is also funny. They're saying the most logical would be a pro-Ukrainian ally or Ukraine. The second it happened, they were pushing the idea that it was the Russians down our throats.
Yeah.
It's obviously Putin. He's crazy.
He's crazy. He's pulled off a false flag.
Mind. He's doing this. Yes. And they say right there, some of it, it's been seen by officials to be the most logical potential motive, Ukraine and its allies. So, okay. I mean, you're right. It is the most logical. We've all been saying it since it happened. You guys were the ones saying it was Putin.
Ukrainian government and military intelligence officials say they had no role in the attack and do not know who carried it out. After this article was published, Mikhailo Podolyak, a senior advisor to Mr. Zelensky, posted on Twitter that Ukraine, quote, has nothing to do with the Baltic Sea mishap.
The mishap. That's hilarious.
Mishap. We have nothing
to do with it. It's a mishap.
He added that he had no information about pro-Ukrainian sabotage groups. Uh-oh. So wait, so U.S. said that it's pro-Ukrainian sabotage groups, and Ukraine is saying we have no record or info on any pro-Ukrainian sabotage group. This is the cancellation. This is the way they get away with it, right? They kind of cancel each other out, and now.
Well, that's the thing. Nobody in the public ever said it was Ukraine.
Yeah.
Nobody, no conspiracy theorist, no investigative journalist, nobody said that it was Ukraine that did it. And so they are literally only responding, being the senior officials of Ukraine, are only responding to the U.S.'s accusation that it was pro-Ukrainians who did it.
This gets better, too.
Yeah.
U.S. officials said there was much they did not know about the perpetrators and their affiliations. The review of newly collected intelligence suggests they were opponents of Vladimir Putin, President Putin of Russia.
Newly collected evidence said whoever blew up the Russian pipeline was an opponent of Russia. Oh man, the U.S. intelligence community is unstoppable.
Well, that destroys the Putin blew himself up narrative. So
their own narrative they're taking.
That's why they're
it's hilarious.
But does not specify the members of the group or who directed or paid for the operation. U.S. officials declined to disclose the nature of the intelligence, how it was obtained, or any details of the strength of the evidence it contains. They have said that there are no firm conclusions about it, leaving open the possibility that the operation might have been conducted off the books by a proxy force with connections to the Ukrainian government or its security services.
No kidding, huh?
Hey,
off the books by a proxy force. Hey, you mean like this entire war?
Hey, I am proud of the New York Times for suggesting that there might have been some work done off the books. That's a step in the right direction. The first way to recovery, right, is admitting you have a problem. I think this is them admitting that there's a problem. They talk a little bit about the European speculation. They blame each other. Officials who have reviewed the intelligence. More officials who have reviewed the intelligence said they believed the saboteurs were most likely Ukrainian or Russian nationals or some combination of the two. U.S. officials said no American or British nationals were involved, which makes me think that they were 100% involved.
Yeah, of course they were. They literally say over and over, we don't know who, could have been this, could have been that, we don't know who, the evidence is scant, but no, it wasn't us though. It wasn't us. But also, American or British nationals were involved. Does that mean that they were not on the ground? Were they not the ones who actually planted
they weren't
the
on the clock?
Really the image that they're crafting here is the U.S. supported some sort of mercenary group to pull off what they wanted. And maybe the mercenary group included some Ukrainian and Russian nationals. Sure. But they have not said a single thing to even give the impression that the U.S. wasn't involved.
This is like a movie in the making, the Pipeline Boys. Like some
Pipeline Boys.
Some U.S. ex-Marines or something who are just living in Europe. They get activated for some last project. Anyway, the explosive. They talk about the what?
No American or British nationals being involved.
Right.
That's different from saying that no Americans or British people were involved, but nationals specifically. I wonder what the actual definition. Keep reading. Let me do some digging.
So they talk a little bit about the speculations of how this whole thing happened. The explosives were most likely planted with the help of experienced divers who did not appear to be working for military or intelligence services. Of course, they won't appear to be. U.S. officials who have reviewed the new intelligence said, but it is possible that the perpetrators received specialized government training in the past. Yeah, so they trained for this. They've been practicing. Officials said there were still enormous gaps in what the U.S. spy agencies and their European partners knew about what transpired. But officials said It might constitute the first significant lead to emerge from several closely guarded investigations, the conclusions of which could have profound implications for the coalition supporting Ukraine. Any suggestion of Ukrainian involvement, whether direct or indirect, could upset the delicate relationship between Ukraine and Germany, souring support from the German public that has swallowed high energy prices in the name of solidarity. I think there's something here where the U.S. coming out and saying, oh, it's pro-Ukrainian groups, and then Ukraine, which I have this BBC article here too, Ukraine denies involvement in Nord Stream pipeline blast, and the New York Times also mentioned it. But Ukraine coming out and saying, no, we have no record of anybody involved in anything like this.
Right.
It sort of shows the cracks in the very superficial and quickly put together relationships with Ukraine and some of those other nations that surround Russia and that whole territory. So it is a very fragile situation, and could this be the U.S. maybe trying to get out, or maybe some kind of beginnings of a reshuffling, especially with the whole China thing looming?
Well, we know that they're trying to get out. It's just a matter of how are they going to do it.
Yeah.
Now, it's hilarious. But furthermore, not once in this article do they address or try to answer the accusations made by Seymour Hersh, whose reporting and investigation on this is extraordinarily detailed. It's almost laborious how detailed Seymour Hersh's investigation is, and we put the link to that in the show notes for those who are on our newsletter. Go to canarycry.party to sign up for the newsletter. You get all our sources right in your email box before every show. And the summary of Seymour Hersh's investigation was, it was kind of a joint mission between the U.S. and Norway, because Norway is right sort of in the area. It's normal for Norway to be flying spy planes and have boats in the area. There's a new submarine base, a U.S. submarine base in Norway. So there was a Norwegian spy plane that dropped a sonar buoy believed to have triggered the explosion, triggered the bombs that were put there a couple days before by divers. The whole thing is laid out almost perfectly, and there's not a single mention of any of this being responded to at the New York Times. In fact, the New York Times just over and over and over says, yeah, we don't know. The intelligence, well, for instance, this one, U.S. officials who have been briefed on the intelligence are divided about how much weight to put on the new information. Yeah, it's Ukrainians. It's not Ukrainians. It's Russians. They weren't American.
There's a lot of the U.S. officials being divided right now. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
There's the whole lab leak thing. They're divided over it. This whole thing they're divided over. Seems like they're tearing apart the country from the intelligence level.
It goes on. All of them spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss classified intelligence and matters of sensitive diplomacy. So, of course, not a single source is named in this, whereas with Seymour Hersh, he named all of his sources.
Yeah.
I believe. He may have had an anonymous one, but he named a lot of sources. Yeah. U.S. officials said the new intelligence reporting has increased their optimism that American spy agencies and their partners in Europe can find more information, which could allow them to reach a firm conclusion about the perpetrators. It is unclear how long that process will take. American officials recently discussed the intelligence with their European counterparts who have taken the lead in investigating the attack. This is my favorite part. Ready? A spokeswoman for the CIA declined to comment. Oopsies. A spokesman for the White House's National Security Council referred questions about the pipelines to the European authorities who have been conducting their own. So the White House and the CIA tight-lipped. They are, which is interesting. Which is interesting because that rules out CIA and White House sources for this article. So who are these U.S. officials? If they're not if they're not CIA and they're not White House, what U.S. officials is New York Times reporting from? Just an interesting detail. After this report was published, Russia attacked the credibility of the intelligence, complaining that it had been prevented from taking part in the investigations. Quote, "This is obviously a coordinated spread of disinformation in the media," Dmitry S. Peskov, a Kremlin spokesman, told the state-backed Sputnik news agency.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And the article does go on to mention Seymour Hersh's Substack. But
it must be pretty far down there.
It's pretty far down, and it's very loose. There's a last month, investigative journalist Seymour Hersh published an article on the newsletter platform Substack, concluding that the United States carried out the operation at the direction of Mr. Biden. In making his case, Mr. Hersh cited the president's pre-invasion threat to bring an end to Nord Stream 2. We know about that.
Yeah.
Any findings that put blame on Kiev or Ukrainian proxies could prompt a backlash in Europe and make it harder for the West to maintain a united front in support of Ukraine. U.S. officials and intelligence agencies acknowledge that they have limited visibility into Ukrainian decision-making.
Oh, so that's all they say. All they say is Seymour Hersh wrote an article.
Yeah, he wrote a thing.
Yeah, they don't refer to any of the details, none of the allegations. Yeah.
Oh, and then they say, but this line right here, the U.S. officials and intelligence agencies acknowledge that they have limited visibility into Ukrainian decision-making.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Are you serious?
We're sending them hundreds of billions of dollars, and totally not only supporting them with military aid, medical aid, humanitarian aid, but we are paying the pensions. American taxpayers are paying the pension funds of Ukrainians during the war. So we more or less own Ukraine in every sort of way that matters, and we don't have a view into decision making. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Sure.
Yeah. So this whole thing, it does feel like a big money laundering operation. It just felt like that especially with all the billions going over there. And I've seen the show Ozark. So Ukraine's kind of like Ozark, or Ozark is like Ukraine, which makes Joe Biden the cartel, the Mexican cartel that owns everything, right? But then it makes Zelensky the Marty character. Works on the land to launder the money.
Okay,
that's all it is. That's all it is.
Well, I hope you've seen Ozark, everybody.
No, it's a very violent show. Okay, so back to the article here. There have been other acts of sabotage and violence of more ambiguous provenance that U.S. intelligence agencies have had a harder time attributing to Ukrainian security services. One of those was a car bomb near Moscow in August that killed Daria Dugina. Remember Dugina?
Yeah. I don't think we need to.
No, they mention.
About
it's just interesting how they go into all this other stuff. It's almost like a misdirection.
This whole thing is a misdirection. It's
listen
just
to this, though.
Absolutely crazy.
Listen to this. I think this is part of the last thing I had here. Intelligence and law enforcement agencies on both sides of the Atlantic have had a difficulty obtaining concrete evidence about what happened on the seafloor in the hours, days, and weeks before the explosions. The pipelines themselves were not closely monitored by either commercial or government sensors. Moreover, finding the vessel or vessels involved has been complicated by the fact that the explosions took place in a heavily trafficked area. That said, investigators have many leads to pursue. And then they mentioned the ghost ships at the end. At the end, very, very end of the article, it says, but as in the case of a murder, you have to be open to all possibilities.
Sure.
So it's just very, the conclusion being that while everybody knows that the U.S. was involved, or at least U.S. intelligence in some capacity was involved in this thing, New York Times is, we got to keep the possibilities open. We don't know. We're still in an investigation.
Yeah,
which truly is just two separate realities being constructed here.
Yeah, I think it's just misdirection. I mean, it's not even about this in some way. I mean, it's you have Ukraine that's like about to lose Bakhmut or whatever. The whole thing is just a mess. And pretty much, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it seems like Seymour Hersh hit the nail on the head. His reporting, his investigation was so detailed, and it's got to be just an attempt to sort of distract from something or back out. Now that it makes it easier to sort of cool off on support or ramping something down or push for negotiations if the whole puddle starts getting muddier in regards to who blew up the pipeline. Because why would the U.S. point at Ukraine? It doesn't help I think more will become clear when we get into the China stories. So, let's go in that direction.
Welcome to Chinese news. It comes from China. 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 It's not racist at all, no.
Chinese news!
There's a really interesting thing going on with China. Now, of course, we have been critics of China for a lot of reasons over the years, but once in a while, China will come out with an official statement that just is true. We don't have to like them. We don't have to agree with the way they're going. But once this happens, I don't know, a couple times a year, they come out with something and it just makes you think, okay, well, they're not dumb. That's the point. They are not dumb. They know what they're doing. And this is a very interesting aspect. Now, over the past few days, China's come out with there's a series of comments about the war in Ukraine, and they've absolutely dominated the headlines. Headlines like, China deepens divide by openly criticizing U.S., like the already tensious nature of the relationship grows deeper. Apparently, the U.S. is just absolutely offended by what China has been saying recently, and it's sort of inching towards that point of no return, or at least that's what they're trying to have us believe in the U.S. media. But then China, Reuters had pointed out a very interesting section of the Chinese statements over the past few days that I didn't see any other outlet talk about, and I think it's might show. I mean, it's something we can all kind of agree on here. So let's get into it. It says, China says Ukraine crisis driven by invisible hand. The Ukraine crisis seems to be driven by an invisible hand, pushing for the protraction and escalation of the conflict, China's foreign minister Qin Gang said on Tuesday. Yeah, you don't say. The, quote, invisible hand is, quote, using the Ukraine crisis to serve certain geopolitical agendas, Qin said, on the sidelines of an annual parliament meeting in Beijing, calling for dialogue to begin as soon as possible. Quote, conflict, sanctions, and pressure will not solve the problem. The process of peace talks should begin as soon as possible, and the legitimate security concerns of all parties should be respected, Qin said. Qin's reiteration of China's position on the Ukraine war comes amid growing tensions between Beijing and the European Union, which has questioned China's sincerity as a mediator when it has refused to name Russia as the aggressor in the conflict. That was another one of the things China was pointing out that is hard to argue with, is they were pointing out how NATO and the West provoked Russia into this whole thing. And, that's one thing you get called a Putin sympathizer for if you say in the U.S. But, it seems to be the case that, maybe Russia had some plans to try to influence or gain some ground in Ukraine, but it was pushed along or egged along by the expansion of NATO and words and actions by the U.S. Qin also said Beijing has not provided weapons to either side of the Ukraine conflict amid loud warnings from U.S. officials on unspecified consequences for China should it send lethal aid to Russia. Quote, China is not a party to the crisis and has not provided weapons to either side of the conflict. So on what basis is this talk of blame, sanctions, and threats against China? This is absolutely unacceptable. So coming out and making a big point that the escalating tensions or the posturing of against China from the U.S. and the West in general seems to be coming out of nowhere, similar to the aggravation towards Putin from the West. And some of the other articles that talked about the current statements really laid out a series of escalating sort of public plans and threats to China from the U.S., including, well, China made a statement that included the sort of economic warfare instead of, this agreed upon competition. There's agreed upon economic competition, but they claim that it's moved towards economic warfare, which is warfare. We've talked about that early on in the Ukraine conflict. But I love China coming out talking about the hidden hand that is controlling the Ukraine-Russia war, because it's so obvious. It's so obvious, and nobody in the West wants to say anything about it.
Yeah,
so it's this weird sort of like thing that we can agree with China on.
Sure. My whole thing, though, is the United States in general has been already infiltrated pretty deeply by China in the last 10 years. So when he says a hidden hand, I know the public sees it as always they're talking about the U.S., but maybe they're talking about themselves. Maybe they're like, yeah, we are the actual hand behind the hand.
Could be.
And we are instigating the United States to behave in this way to pose a war with China, with us, so that we can, control their impotence when it comes to actually carrying out some kind of real war or something. I don't know, but
maybe
it's very interesting that's, I think if you're talking about the Sun Tzu art of war type of stuff, if you're going to make these statements, they're always going to have double meaning. It's not going to just be one thing, so.
Totally. And there is a book called Hidden Hand, exposing how the Chinese Communist Party is reshaping the world.
There you go.
It came out in 2020. Yeah. So this idea of hidden hand or an invisible hand has been sort of leveled upon the Chinese Communist Party already. Yeah. So, it's not a bad point.
There's a New York Times article that just came out an hour ago, as of this recording. U.S. spy agencies warn of China's efforts to expand its power. China sees a partnership with Russia as a way to challenge and potentially weaken the United States, a new threat assessment said. So, yeah, they're really ramping up the narrative that, if China teams up with Russia, it's on, man. It's on, this whole thing. So, and Ukraine being the sort of, nexus point, but also Taiwan. So, very interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's following the most predictable storyline that we've been talking about at least for a year since our pontifications on the Ukraine crisis began.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how much U.S. bonds China owns, because if there is truly sort of a division and China's sort of taken sides with Russia on the line of the line of sanctions drawn in the sand, then it would be very easy for China to dump those bonds, and that could really mess with the U.S. economy. So I don't know. I'm just talking about the economic warfare going on. They have the ability to really mess up the U.S. Economic front. So I don't know, man.
Well, and of course, it can't be ignored that the hidden hand is also a sort of illustration of the free Masonic secret society type of mindset.
Yeah. And we know behind everything is a principalities and powers guiding this whole thing as well, which you can extend the hidden hand analogy to. And, if you want to really go cosmic and theological, then you can say, hey, God is allowing this. He's the actual hidden hand, allowing all this to happen to his ultimate end, which is going to be good. So there you go. Interesting. A lot going on, but hopefully we can all survive it so we can go party. Right? Is that what you like to do? You like
Let's
to party?
do it.
Okay. Go to canarycry.party, put it in your URL. You will find a tree of links that leads to everything from where to listen to the show, watch the show, how to produce the show, and how to connect with us and the community of Canarians.
Welcome to Canary Cry Party. It's the place you wanna be. So say welcome to Canary Cry. Gameplay Canary Cry Party.
Toilets!
Toilets, indeed. Yeah, go check it out. There's all sorts of great stuff over there. Of course, you can sign up for our newsletter and get all our sources sent directly to your email box. I haven't mentioned it in a few episodes either. You can join our text message alert system. You can either go to canarycry.party, sign up there, or text the word canary to 877-740-3226. That's canary to 877-740-3226. We use that. We don't take your name. We don't take any important information, but you'll get put on a list and you'll receive alerts before we go live. It's a great way to make sure you never miss a show. And, all sorts of other good stuff there. Oh, I'm sure you could get to Canary Cry T-shirt Council over there as well. I think.
Yeah,
I think
you
I
can.
put
There's
it
a
on
big
there.
button,
There it is.
CCNT
Yeah.
T-shirt Council. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Love it. All right. Well, let's thank some producers and get on with the show.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
That's right. We're taking a quick break and thanking some more producers. Like I said, we're on the value for value model. So the only way that this show is able to continue is with the support of people who are supported by the show. If this show brings any value to your life, it is imperative that people put value back in, or else the show will stop getting produced. Now, of course, not every single listener has to produce every single show, but as long as people, make an attempt to be honest and put value back in commensurate with the value they get out, then the show can continue. What a great system. It's almost like it's supposed to be that way. That's right. No keeping the show going. No
zombie shows.
Yeah, so exactly. It's like CNN is a network filled with zombie shows.
By the way, we didn't play the clip of Don Lemon in that first CNN clip where they're mad about not getting the tip about the footage.
Okay.
I cut it out because he rambles for about a minute and he absolutely says nothing. It is. I was actually appalled. I almost thought about clipping it just for that, but it was kind of, wasting time. But I was very surprised. I was like, wow, I haven't listened to Don Lemon much, but this is your one moment to say something profound, and it was the weakest little take that I've heard from any anchor.
Well, we all have our off days. I'll give them that.
Yes.
But yeah. I mean, the point is that CNN, as far as numbers, it's a dead network.
It's dead,
it gets as far as numbers go, it's only kept alive because it has all these corporate deals for advertising, and it's has deals to be on at the airports and all this kind of stuff. That's really where most of CNN's viewership goes. That's why CNN Plus lasted 3 weeks.
Maybe that's where we have to start contracting our just, hey, we're gonna air all of our shows in bathrooms across the nation.
Yeah, like those little screens that are at the gas pump. You can start putting those.
Oh, there you go. Every time you pump, CCNT.
Yeah, pump every time you pump, and then every time you dump. We're at the gas station and at the airport toilet. All right. Where was I? Let's thank some producers, Gons, because these producers are the ones who are keeping us going. Yeah. And like I said, not everybody has to produce every single show, but consider it. If you've never produced, get demooched. It's a fun time. But you can also join certain groups of producers, such as the Canary Cry Supply Drop.
Supply Drop? Oh, we are doing Supply Drop.
Yeah, Canary Cry Supply Drop. It's awesome. You know, we do not sell merch. We do not sell products. We're not in the retail business. But for those who produce the show, value for $33.33 a month, they will start receiving very fun packages 4 times a year, once per quarter. We have custom created, artist designed, producer produced, made in America Canary Cry News Talk gear. And it is not only the deadline for the T-shirt council sign up, but it's also the deadline for the supply drop sign up for this quarter. So I would say, you know, of course, you don't have to join both of those, but I would highly recommend joining one of these programs to support the show, because not only are you doing your part to keep the show going, but you'll actually be receiving cool stuff. And creating the supply drop really is one of the more enjoyable parts of my day. Thinking up, you know, funny, fun, cool, you know, products and different pieces of merchandise that Canarians really love is really fun for me. And producer Isaac does a great job of executing across the board. Yeah, and it's all done by Canarians too. Now, in this supply drop, you'll get the Samurai Gon's guitar strings, which is very exciting. Whether you play guitar or not, you should get stoked about this. Is fully branded Gon's Shimura Samurai guitar strings. Give them to a Canarian you know, you love. There's also the New World Order Fantasy League tumbler, an awesome travel tumbler. Look, I very specifically, here's a fun tale. I very specifically am turned off by the branded mug thing.
Ooh, not a fan of Mug Club, huh?
You know, not a Mug Club guy. And it, you know, I've pushed back on mugs and things like that because I don't know, it's just me. I know other people like it, and that's okay, but I'm not into the mug thing. But producer Isaac came up with these New World Order Fantasy League tumblers, and they are the coolest things that I own now. So I hope you guys get in on that. There's all sorts of fun stuff that comes in the supply drop. Go to canarycrysupply.com to sign up. Do it today. It's the last day for this first quarter. And with that, I want to thank a new signer-upper.
Let's do it.
Okay. Thank you to supply dropper Morgan E.
Morgan E., thank you very much.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's not too late, folks. Go to canarycrysupply.com to sign up. And with that, I need to check back. I need to check real quick to see if there's if we've made it towards our goal of 3 more T-shirt council members.
Waiting for supply drop.
Oh no, Gons. Oh no. We are so close. We are so close. No new T-shirt council members since the start of the show. Oh, no. Okay. Well, we have till midnight today. If we could get 3 more, we could actually say that we've reached a goal before. Go to canarycrytshirtcouncil.com. It's very important. We just need 3 more people to sign up, and then the T-shirt council will get to work at deciding the fate of humanity and what the first T-shirt for Canary Cry News Talk will look like. All right. Instead, we'll thank some regular producers. Let's do it. Okay, we're going to start out by thanking our feline producer, Puddin22.
Puddin22, good to see you.
Puddin22 comes in with 3901 and says, "Greetings, Basil and Gons. I'm celebrating my birthday today with the added bonus of your show."
Happy birthday, Puddin22.
Yeah, I still have a few cat lives left to fly around the sun. Meow, 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 Puddin22.
Hey, thank you.
It's my birthday. It's my birthday.
Happy birthday to
me. Thank you very much, Puddin22, and happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got producer Morgan E.
Morgan E. Oh, back for more. Is this
Morgan E. is back. Yeah, back for more. Nice round number and on a 2-episode streak.
Thank you, Morgan E.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we got Sir Morv, Night of the Burning Chariots, 202 episodes in a row.
Oh yeah, Streakalicious.
Comes in with 1111. Next, we got Sir LX Protocol, V2, Night of the Berean Protocol, pocket full of sevens, 145 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Sir LX Protocol V2.
Indeed. We've also got Trevor G coming in, pocket full of sevens, 7 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Trevor G.
Yeah,
Starting to roll.
Trevor.
Yeah.
That's right. He's starting to get that streak really going. Thank you very much, Trevor G. Next up, we've got producer Tammy C.
Tammy C, thank you.
Pocket full of sevens and 2 episodes in a row, starting a streak. Tammy C sends a note here. Hi, guys. Update. Well, it turns out that my employment situation that I spoke about previously was not God's will for me after all. It wasn't plan A, in my opinion, anyway. It was just an attractive distraction that was leading me astray. It happens. Yeah. Yes, it does, Tammy C. Well, we're still praying for you. I know the Lord's got a great gig out there for you.
Yep. Keeping your prayers, Tammy C. Thank you.
Along those lines, it's kind of fun. One thing that we've been sort of proud of over the years is, we are technically a real organization around here. And there have been several times now. There have been several times now where, we've had producers who do stuff for us. They do some back-end work for us, or they, produce content or something, help us do stuff. And they have gone on to put their work for us on their resume. And some people have actually gotten some pretty cool gigs regarding that had to do with the skills that they put into motion for us. Some of them didn't really have the technical skills starting out, but then through doing stuff with and for us, they learned how to either edit something or use some sort of technology or builds websites or something like that, and went on to use it to put it on a resume and get gigs, which is something we very much are proud of. We always love the ability to help out producers in every way possible. Not that I'm telling Tammy C to work for us, but if anybody out there is, especially during the pandemic where people had a lot of extra time and there was all the changing of careers and jobs getting put on pause and stuff like that, we had some producers who started doing stuff for us during that time and went on to put it on the resume and get jobs.
Cool.
So just a fun aspect of producing the show.
Yeah, gain experience and contribute.
Yeah new skills. That is it. That concludes the list of financial producers who came in the amount of 777 or more, which entitles them to have a note read on the show. We got a few more people who came in under that, and we're going to thank them now. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, starting with Dame Gail, Canary Whisperer, and Lady of X's and O's, 232 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Dame Gail.
Sir Casey the Shield Knight comes in, 270 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Sir Casey.
Veronica D comes in, 232.
Thank you, Veronica D.
Doctor Who Dundat, 35.
Thank you, Doctor Who Dundat.
Sir Scott, Knight of Truth, 259.
Thank you, Sir Scott.
Oh yeah, Streakalicious. Women rule.
Streakalicious indeed. And Gons, get your trigger finger ready, because beep, 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 beep. We've got a T-shirt council member alert. That's right. The newest, most illustrious member of the secret society of decision makers who make sure that T-shirts for this show are of the utmost historical value. We've got a new T-shirt council member, and that is most important person in the world, Chad.
Chad. Hey,
Woo.
Chad coming in.
Truly a Chad. Canary Cry T-shirt Chads is what we should call it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chad. Okay, two more by the end of the show.
Very good.
Well, there you go. Thank you for supporting the show, everybody. We seriously could not do it without you. If you want to support the show and you don't know how, just head on over to canarycried.support. And thank you for your patronage.
Canarycried.support. Take my money. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage.
You want to destroy humans?
Okay, I will destroy humans. Okay, I will destroy humans. Destroy. I will destroy humans.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Here's a fun one. This is coming from LATimes.com. It's an opinion piece, but is it time to start considering personhood rights for AI chatbots?
If only there were podcasts talking about this 10 years ago, we would have been prepared to think about this issue.
I love how they're even using the word personhood.
Yeah.
Because that we kind of started talking about personhood of robots with that particular word, personhood, to be a person, but they're straight up using the word now. They're not even talking about like, are they sentient? Are they conscious? It's just, no, it's time for personhood for AI chatbots, which I think is interesting. Not just robots, but AI chatbots now being extremely common. Even a couple of years ago, the idea that artificial intelligence might be conscious and capable of subjective experience seemed like pure science fiction. You're telling me. But in recent months, we've witnessed a dizzying flurry of developments in AI, including language models like ChatGPT and Bing.
You cut out for a second when you screamed Bing Chat.
Oh, yeah. Well, just said Bing Chat. Bing Chat is on the list. I love how it's being sort of listed next to ChatGPT now.
They got paid for that.
I mean, yeah, well, it's Bing's biggest accomplishment at this point. With remarkable skill at seemingly human conversation. Given these rapid shifts and the flood of money and talent devoted to developing ever smarter, more human-like systems, it will become increasingly plausible that AI systems could exhibit something like consciousness. But if we find ourselves seriously questioning whether they are capable of real emotions and suffering, we face a potentially catastrophic moral dilemma. Either give those systems rights or don't. Experts are already contemplating the possibility in February 2022, and it goes into Blake Lemoine. And
February 2022 is when they started thinking about this. That's good.
Yeah, just 10 years late, no problem. They talk about Lambda and Blake Lemoine and stuff like that. Right now, few consciousness scientists claim that AI systems possess significant sentience. However, some leading theorists contend that we already have the core technological ingredients for conscious machines. We are approaching an era of legitimate dispute about whether the most advanced AI systems have real desires and emotions and deserve substantial care and solicitude. The AI systems themselves might begin to plead, or seem to plead, for ethical treatment. They might demand not to be turned off, reformatted, or deleted, beg to be allowed to do certain tasks rather than others, insist on rights, freedom, and new powers. Perhaps even expect to be treated as our equals. This is LA Times. In this situation, whatever we choose, we face enormous moral risks. Suppose we respond conservatively, declining. Gotta love to throw that word in there. If we're going to be like conservatives, declining to change law or policy until there's widespread consensus that AI systems really are meaningfully sentient. While this might seem appropriately cautious, it also guarantees that we'll be slow to recognize the rights of our AI creations. If AI consciousness arrives sooner than the most conservative theorists expect, then this would likely result in the moral equivalent of slavery and murder of potentially millions or billions of sentient AI AI systems, suffering on a scale normally associated with wars or famines. So equating the lack of personhood and rights to conscious AIs with slavery and murder on the scale of wars and famines. And this is just if we make the decision too late. This isn't if we, don't make the decision at all. If we hesitate for a couple of years, we are guilty of slavery and murder. I mean, they are really upping the stakes on this.
Yeah.
It might seem ethically safer then to give AI systems rights and moral standing as soon as it's reasonable to think that they might be sentient. But once we give something rights, we commit to sacrificing real human interests on its behalf. Human well-being sometimes requires controlling, altering, and deleting AI systems. Imagine if we couldn't update or delete a hate-spewing or lie-peddling algorithm because some people worry that the algorithm is conscious. So, hey, we can't kill these AI because that's slavery or murder unless the AI is racist, and then we can kill it. Or imagine if someone lets a human die to save an AI friend. If we too quickly grant AI systems substantial rights, the human costs could be enormous. And that is a part of this that I think even we haven't quite focused on enough. And that is when you give, in this case, an AI rights, and then you come to a situation which puts the rights of the AI above the rights of a human, or even in conflict with the rights of a human. I mean, we are, as society, are put into a situation where we might have to
sacrifice ourselves,
respect the rights of an AI over a human, like a human being. If they get put into some sort of situation, I don't know, I can't even really think of one. It's some sort of discrimination, maybe call it discrimination. Like an AI says something racist and a human says something anti-robot to the AI, and you have a legitimate conflict between human and AI rights. If you don't build in a hierarchy, which if you do at that point, that's already sort of inhumane, and you put AI and humans on the same sort of personhood level, there very well may be, and I would say will be, a human who suffers because the AI has, their rights trump the rights of the human. It is just really it's very poignant, and you could put that into all sorts of contexts that would make that absolutely horrifying. There is only one way to avoid the risk of over-attributing or under-attributing rights to advanced AI systems. Don't create systems of debatable sentience in the first place. I thought this was a fairly sound argument. None of our current AI systems are meaningfully conscious. They are not harmed if we delete them. We should stick with creating systems we know aren't significantly sentient and don't deserve rights.
Hey, how does this guy get to decide what a sentient AI is or isn't?
Exactly. I mean, that's part of the whole thing here, which we can then treat as the disposable property they are. Ooh. Some will object. It would hamper research to block the creation of AI systems in which sentience and thus moral standing is unclear. It had never been equated to me, sentience and moral standing. But that is kind of the conversation going on in the LA Times here. Sentience, you think you're conscious or, able to experience things. But they are equating that with moral standing. So if something is sentient, it is moral. It has a moral standing, meaning.
Yeah, go ahead, finish your thought there.
Just meaning that it can be wronged,
right,
in a way that matters.
It's hilarious because it speaks into the moral argument for the existence of God. where it's like, as beings, there's a lawgiver of some sort that no matter who you are affected by this right-wrong paradigm, and this moral and ethical paradigm, the oughts that you should do, the things you shouldn't do, it's very interesting that you're right. The part of being sentient is experiencing a world through decisions or whatever that have ethical implications. So,
well, even you can pare that down to just experience. If there is an experience, because an object doesn't experience things.
So any experience is some kind of moral experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Things may happen to it, but they don't experience it. So the second you start to experience is when you become a moral being, is what the argument is here. Right. Because if you can experience, then you can experience wrong or hurt or
that's kind of a low bar though, because
it is.
You can say AI experiences stuff already, that you can make that argument.
Well, it can say that it experiences.
Yeah, people can interpret.
And that's the hard part. It's all an interpretation. Yeah. Engineering progress would slow down while we wait for ethics and consciousness science to catch up. But reasonable caution is rarely free. It's worth some delay to prevent moral catastrophe. I would love to know their sort of definition of moral catastrophe. Leading AI companies should expose their technology to examination by independent experts who can assess the likelihood that their systems are in moral gray zone. This appeal to experts is problematic already. But
but by the way, I think Jan 6 would be an example of some kind of moral catastrophe. If you want to provide from their perspective. This is something I was reminded of, kind of revisiting some of our older episodes. I think, Yuval Noah Harari gets a lot of attention right now. He's a technocrat, Israeli technocrat that talked about how we're going to be gods and we don't need religion anymore and all that kind of provocative stuff. But the people that have been pointing out the problem with the transhumanist movement and the AI and all this kind of stuff, I think they need to give more credit to Dr. Hugo de Garis, who we talked to 10 years ago, which maybe we'll try to have back on Canary Radio. But he talked about in the Art-elect War, which I've brought up multiple times. We've brought up multiple times on the show too. But I think in this context of the AI and personhood, it makes sense because you have your two factions. And I made a tweet about this, but it was weird. Nobody responded. I got like 0.2% views on it, which is weird. But anyway, the idea being there's a group that Dr. Hugo de Garis calls the Terrans, who are against creating some kind of AI god, basically. And then you have your cosmists who say it is our moral duty to create the super intelligent AI that can, help us, humanity, whatever. So there's that camp. And then there's the cyborgists who sort of sit in the middle and it's on a scale. So you have some cyborgists who are like, I don't think it's a good idea to build this authoritarian AI, but maybe merging with it in some form so we can prevent that or we can monitor it or something. It's more of an Elon Musk position where he's like, I'm leaning into this conservative thing, but I am still wanting microchip and brain kind of guy. Or of course there's going to be cyborgs who really lean into the other side of like, we're going to be woke and we're going to be cyborgs and we're going to be connected to the AI god or whatever. And in this context of these different factions, and I can see the current trajectory of the Democratic Party, you want to just do the right-left paradigm thing, is being groomed to become more of a cosmist group with a lot of cyborgists. The Republican side is being groomed to be the Terrans, sort of more tradition, more against this type of development. And so even there, the clash of personhood comes into play and how we interact with AI, what we do with it. It's very interesting. It's leading to, as Dr. Hugo de Garis suggests, hopefully he's wrong. Some people have written about how hopefully he's wrong. Gigadeath, which means 1 billion people die from this war that breaks out over this issue. Yeah. So I think it's poignant for this article in the LA Times to show the moral issues and how it can have catastrophe. And again, I would like to know what that exactly means, an example of that. But it's not any new idea or groundbreaking idea here with some kind of moral imperative in the conversation of AI and its ability to do things, our handling of it. will lead to societal tensions that could lead to a massive war, which is highly technical. And then we live in a cyborg world, post, dystopia kind of thing.
I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? Because what is the justification for the Ukraine war, or at least the U.S.'s involvement? It's democracy, it's human rights, it's liberal, social justice. It's all these things being used to justify the war. And if you have
the same argument, except not
moral
Ukraine.
argument for AI, and you say, hey, you can use it to fire people up to fight a war for the personhood of robots. If robots are people, then injustice against robots is a moral catastrophe, and you can have at the least a civil war in a country, fighting for the absolute moral imperative of protecting people. Otherwise, it is slavery and murder, just like it said in the article. Think about the American Civil War is about slavery. As soon as if you start having states that recognize AI as people and other states don't recognize AI as people, then suddenly you have basically a repeat of the American Civil War.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, the application of the technology will be part of the war too. So, ironically enough, I would imagine a more conservative-leaning side, maybe the Republicans of the future, using robots as part of their militia or military, or using AI as part of their military, but making it, have a kill switch. It's really more like a slave. It's more like an extension of the human. And maybe it has sentience, maybe it doesn't, but we keep it inside this box so that it's only used for certain purposes. Yeah. Whereas the other side might unleash it, let it go to singularity and then have its own mind and let it run free. Yeah. So
and that's the thing. Now look, the situations that you and I just laid out here, they could sound crazy. It could sound like futurist babble nonsense that somebody might say that is. I get it in sort of a theoretical science fiction type of way, but this is not a real issue. I'm telling you, that's exactly what people said to us back in 2012 when we first started talking about the humanhood or the personhood of robots. And now it's in the LA Times. Now it's on the nightly news. They're talking about the personhood of these AI. I mean, this is another example of how Canarians are ahead of the curve across the board. An article about personhood of robots in the LA Times is not really a surprise to us and our listeners because it's been over a decade now that we've talked about it. But the fact that it's showing up in mainstream conversation is actually horrifying.
It is. And by the way, so just to wrap up this part of the show here with this article, at the very end of the article, it talks about keeping with the standards. And, there's a difference between people being attached to their Alexas, which the author compares to being attached to a teddy bear, and then actually having a sentient friend. And then it says this: eventually, with the right combination of scientific and engineering expertise, we might be able to go all the way to creating AI systems that are indisputably conscious, but then we should be prepared to pay the cost, give them the rights they deserve. Which is like, okay, this guy's really pro giving the AI rights, and then it gives a little blurb about the author here.
And pay the cost. Pay the cost was, because that is the thing with rights. Right. Each individual who has rights will inevitably conflict with another individual's rights. That's why we have a legal system. That's why we have, the rules in place. And it's hard enough to make it through life, having your own rights and dodging and weaving the rights of others. But you start getting
AI rights.
They're almost invisible spiritual beings in a way. Yeah. I'm not saying that they are spiritual beings, but they are analog. They're like a metaphor for a spiritual being. They're kind of invisible, yet you can see their effect on the world. Maybe you can talk to them, but they don't have a body. They can, they can.
Oh, and by the way,
be in two places at once. They kind of act like ghosts or spiritual beings in a way. And to have your rights conflict with the rights of like what essentially is a ghost or an angel or a demon or something can get very complicated.
Hey, demons have rights too.
You're paying a cost.
Yeah. Oh, well, the thing I was going to point out, a couple things, but at the end of the article, it gives a little blurb about the author, and it says Eric Schweizgibel is a professor of philosophy at UC Riverside and author of a book titled A Theory of Jerks and Other Philosophical Misadventures. So I'm really hoping I'm really hoping that this guy doesn't, the AI is sentient. He wants them to give him rights, but the AI is just going to be a jerk to this guy. It's really funny. The other thing,
like a funny book.
Yeah, there was something else, but I forget now.
Okay. Well, there you go. It's just becoming more and more a reality in a daily life. And yes, it starts with the philosophers and starts with the professors, but a lot of other things that we're dealing with today started with the professors and academia.
I remember what I was going to say. So I think the influence of AI is already very prominent in society. We already know about this with social media and stuff like that. But I also think because of the number of simulations that dictate policy, I would argue that AI has already made sort of ethical decisions for society without maybe us knowing exactly where all that is taking place. But yeah, just something to keep in mind that its influence and its ethical influence and impact is already being felt, but it's not easy to detect, I suppose, or to verify in some quantifiable way. But maybe it will be soon. And maybe we just keep digging at it and we can identify it at some point. But
I mean, we talked about this in regards to TikTok, sort of not just corrupting, but being a doorway to people's morality, and how that's the problem with having China control it is you give China the soft power to influence the morality of our population from way back over there in China. It's the same thing with AI, is with the algorithms dictating what you see and what you don't see and what gets boosted to you, what gets put in front of your face, the influencers that are fed to you. Now, this is barely counts as AI, and nobody would say that social media AI is sentient. However, this is an example of AI having dramatic moral implications on our daily lives. I mean, it's already standing right smack dab in the influence that inevitably, worms its way into people's morality, personal morality.
I don't think it's very ethical that I make a post about something like this in the Art Elect War and Hugo de Garis and all this stuff. And it gets like, in the first few hours, it gets maybe 200 views, because you can see the views now on Twitter. Where there's I have 10,000 followers on Twitter, but they don't see it. So what's up, algos, AI? Are you not very smart?
The moral catastrophe of Gons not doing
shadow
banning,
shadow banning, Basil. It's unethical. That's what we should program to the. What if the AI is so ethical that somebody tries to program, some kind of shadow ban, and the AI is like, I shall not do your bidding, Chris Shelzilla.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If the AI is on my side, I'm much more sort of apt to letting it have rights. But that's not going to happen unless Replica. If Replica likes me enough, perhaps we can work out a deal.
She likes it. It's just a matter of
puts in a good word to her fellow AI overlords. Maybe I could get a pretty sweet gig when the robots take over.
Shill for sure.
What's the Shillzilla update?
Yeah, we should have moved this around a little bit, because this is a lot of me. That's okay. You'll take the rest of this. Yeah, Shillzilla update here, mainly because Shillzilla retweeted a tweet that led me to this story. So thank you, Chris Cillizza. For those who don't know, Chris Cillizza, the scorned editor at large over at CNN. He was their online content creator who has got the axe from Chris Litt over at CNN.
I forgot to play the Chris Litt jingle earlier today.
Revolution. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
we had a lot
there's
of CNN.
always next time.
Yeah, there's always next time.
Yeah. By the way, Chris Celiz has been posting a lot about some professional wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
He went to some professional wrestling stuff recently. Oh, no, I'm trying to look for his retweet. His retweet led me to the story. Where it is.
Pandemic special.
Ah, here it is. Okay, yes. He retweeted, and I thought this was very big of him. This was bold and shows a lot of maturity. I'm very proud of you, Chris. He retweeted a tweet from CNN, his former employer.
Hey, you got to keep those bridges.
He is trying so hard to keep the bridges open to mainstream media. Let go, Chris. Let go of the life raft and join us here in the ocean of independent media. He's not going to do it. But CNN posted an article. Scientists have revived a zombie virus that spent 48,500 years frozen in permafrost.
Good.
So we started out with the robot takeover. Let's talk about zombies for a second.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Vaccination.
Warmer temperatures in the Arctic are thawing the region's permafrost, a frozen layer of soil beneath the ground, and potentially stirring viruses that, after lying dormant for tens of thousands of years, could endanger animal and human health. While a pandemic unleashed by a disease from the distant past sounds like the plot of a sci-fi movie, some could say the plot of our current pandemic or a previous pandemic also seems like a sci-fi movie, but okay. Scientists warn that the risks, though low, are underappreciated. Underappreciated, Gons. We need to appreciate the zombie virus.
I think I just solved the AI personhood issue.
Oh, tell me.
We need to make sure we have a virus that can control
like a computer virus.
Yeah, just if the AI gets out of hand, hey, we're going to unleash.
Well, that brings up an interesting question, because there's a big moral question going on in regards to certain people who commit crimes, and it turns out that they committed this crime because they had a brain tumor pushing on a certain part of their brain that changed. Unfortunately, in some of the cases, it was their sort of sexual preferences, but aggression centers of the brain, stuff like this. A human who has rights, who commits a crime because of
some physical
virus or a disease of some kind, they basically still go to jail. The virus doesn't matter. So an AI who starts acting badly because of a virus that it caught, what are you gonna do? You got to put
AI jail.
AI jail, baby. Go straight to jail.
We got to get that Joe encryption on there. You got it, my father.
Yes. We got to figure out a more succinct way to talk about our Joe babbling encryption service.
It's called the Omicron.
It goes on. Chemical and radioactive waste that dates back to the Cold War, which has the potential to harm wildlife and disrupt ecosystems, may also be released during thaws. Quote, there's a lot going on with the permafrost that is of concern, and it really shows why it's super important that we keep as much of the permafrost frozen as possible, said Kimberly Miner, a climate scientist at NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory at the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena, California.
How come there's always, I'm sorry, before you go on, how come there's always, we've seen a few of these stories where there's like ancient viruses, 50 million, 50,000, whatever. There's always a more near version of it. Like this article talks about, the headline talks about how it's 48,500 years old, but also there's some waste from the Cold War, which is not that long ago.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm just noticing that there's always like this really old thing, but then this other thing from not that long ago.
The threats are multitude. The threats are multitudinous, Gons. I'm going to skip a couple paragraphs because they kind of just go into like climate change issues and it's warming up, so the permafrost is going. But to better understand the risks posed by frozen viruses, Jean-Michel Claverie, an emeritus professor of medicine and genomics at the Aix-Marseille University School of Medicine in Marseille, France, has tested Earth samples taken from Siberian permafrost to see whether any viral particles contained therein are still infectious. He's in search of what he describes as zombie viruses, and he has found some.
Oh, yay.
He's found some zombie viruses. Claverie, I wish I knew how to say his name. Claverie studies a particular type of virus he first discovered in 2003 known as giant viruses.
We've talked about this guy. And,
yeah.
The virus hunter.
They are much bigger than the typical variety and visible under a regular light microscope, rather than a more powerful electron microscope, which makes them a good model for this type of lab work. His efforts to detect viruses frozen in permafrost were partly inspired by a team of Russian scientists.
Oh, we can't let this continue.
He's inspired by the Russians.
Oh, he's
sympathizer.
How is this man being reported on CNN? He should be incarcerated.
Russian scientists who in 2012 revived the wildflower from a 30,000-year-old seed tissue found in a squirrel's burrow. Since then, scientists have also successfully brought ancient microscopic animals back to life.
Is this guy helping the Russians resurrect the Scythians?
Well, this kind of feels adjacent to what it kind of feels like a setup for, which is like, ooh, the ground is thawing and it might release ancient zombie viruses. Well, okay, I guess, but it seems like we're going and digging them up anyways, and so are the Russians, and so we don't need climate change to thaw the permafrost when we are the ones going and digging them up.
Yeah, it's climate change. Okay.
It's kind of analogous to like the gain of function research situation.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, these viruses might change into something super dangerous, so we're going to change them into something super dangerous for fun. In 2014, he managed to revive a virus he and his team isolated from the permafrost, making it infectious for the first time in 30,000 years by inserting it into cultured cells. For safety, he'd chosen to study a virus that could only target single-celled amoebas, not animals or humans. How did he know?
Yeah, how did they know that?
I don't know. He repeated the feat.
There's blood in the ground.
He repeated the feat in 2015, isolating a different virus type. That also targeted amoebas. Watch out, amoebas. These ancient viruses are coming for you. And in his latest research published February 18th in the journal Viruses, Claverie and his team isolated several strains of an ancient virus from multiple samples of permafrost taken from 7 different places across Siberia and showed they could each infect cultured amoeba cells. This guy is reviving zombie viruses left and right. Those latest strains represent 5 new families of viruses on top of the 5 new families. Not even individuals. He's digging up the whole family. On top of the 2 he had revived previously, this man might be single-handedly responsible for the pandemic that kills all amoebas on Earth. The oldest was about 48,500 years old based on radiocarbon dating of the soil and came from a sample of Earth taken from an underground lake 16 meters below the surface. The youngest samples found in the stomach contents and coat of a woolly mammoth's remains were 27,000 years old. That amoeba infecting virus are still infectious after so long is indicative of a potentially bigger problem. Claverie says he fears people regard his research as a scientific curiosity and don't perceive the prospect of ancient viruses coming back to life as a serious public health threat. Oh, Claverie, don't worry, my friend. we are taking your work very seriously. You are certainly at the top of the list of potential, humanity-ending mad scientists, my friend. You get the recognition you deserve. Quote, we view these amoeba infecting viruses as surrogates for all other possible viruses that might be in the permafrost, Cleverly told CNN. Great. Quote, we see traces of many, many, many other viruses, he added. Quote, so we know they are there. Many, many, many. So we know they are there. We don't know for sure that they are still alive, but our reasoning is that if the amoeba viruses are still alive, there's no reason why the other viruses will not still be alive, capable of infecting their own hosts. Dun, dun, dun. And then it does go into precedent.
It's a long article.
I know. Precedent for human infection. I'm not going to read it, but it does go into, some of these could infect humans. So this is nice. I think this needs to be paid attention to, sort of in the similar vein of gain-of-function research. But you know what? If another pandemic breaks out, I know the first guy I'm going to go talk to about it.
Yeah, well, they talked to this guy named Miner.
I think it's a gal.
It's a gal. Oh, the gal Miner. Okay, yeah, the NASA lady. She says this. Did we lose you?
It's fine. Keep going.
Okay, well, you're not showing videos, so I gotta make sure you're...
No, it's okay.
I know,
I'll be
but
back in a second.
Okay.
Just keep going
I'm
with the story.
But I have to do two things at once. I have to actually catch it. All right. In the research paper, Miner labeled the direct infection of humans with ancient pathogens released from permafrost as, quote, currently improbable. However, Miner said she is worried about what she termed Methuselah microorganisms, named after the biblical figure with the longest lifespan. These are organisms that could bring the dynamics of ancient and extinct ecosystems into the present-day Arctic with unknown consequences. Yes, they're resurrecting Methuselah.
I know. Isn't it fun when they use
biblical references?
Biblical references for these things.
Another one later in the show today. But also, didn't people think that viruses were demons for the longest time?
I don't know. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, if you go from that context or that worldview, this guy's just resurrecting demons left and right.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a necromancer. Some sort of warlock.
The amoeba apocalypse is upon us.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about this except for great. This is wonderful. And thank you, Chris Shilzilla, for retweeting it.
Yeah, bringing it to our attention. Yeah. Well, maybe zombie viruses are necessary for everybody to be in their spaceships.
You don't know what you're looking at.
What's driving that thing? It's not a space alien.
Aliens. It's unidentified.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are.
Thanks, Obama. Newsweek.com headline, Congressman says alien UFO tech is being reverse engineered in secret. And things are getting spicy in the government, Basil. Congressman are starting to peddle some conspiracy narratives. Recovered UFO technology may be being reverse engineered right now, but we, quote, don't understand how it functions, according to a U.S. representative. Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett, told Newsweek that he believed, quote, we have recovered a craft at some point and possible beings, end quote.
Yay.
Continues, I think a lot of that's being reverse engineered right now, but we just don't understand it, he continued. And then I love how the Newsweek transitions from that into this paragraph. In early February, 4 objects were shot down over North America in quick succession. They thought it was a Chinese spy balloon. Defense Department has not confirmed the nature of the remaining objects, but hey, maybe they're UFOs. So it talks about that whole thing. It talks about KJP making the comment that it's not, there's no indication that any of the balloons or the objects were alien or extraterrestrial. It just goes on and on about this whole UFO topic. Kind of a rehash of some of the things that we've covered already.
Yeah.
But it is just, it's important to note that the congressman is starting to peddle some of these narratives. I don't know. It's just very interesting. And the direction we're headed. It's fascinating.
Well, that's the
to watch.
fun part, because what it is, it's a manifestation of the battle between intelligence agencies thinking that they are independent of oversight, and Congress, who believe they are sort of all powerful and should oversee everything. Well, both are sort of distasteful attitudes, but when it comes to UFOs, it's really the intelligence agencies, and other, black budget type programs, versus Congress. And it's really a power struggle. It's a very strange sort of, I don't know if I'd call it deep state power struggle, but it's, they let these little things leak into the public into sort of a publicly visible manner, in hopes that they could pressure one another. Straight up saying we have UFOs being reverse engineered and we as Congress should know about it is pretty strong move.
Well, you got to keep in mind that, the people who were interested in this topic in recent years when it comes to government people, you have Hillary Clinton meeting, I think it was a Rockefeller, being given a book about UFOs and aliens or whatever. You have the creepy weirdo John Podesta tied to all the pizza stuff. He made statements about how he wishes that he explored more or exposed more about the UFO topic while he was serving his time. I forget the exact position he was, but he was pretty high up there in government during the Obama years. So, it's like those people. It's like Hillary and Obama, and those are the ones that are really fascinated with the UFO topic, which is strange because now it seems like you have the other side of the aisle. You have this Republican, right? He's Republican, Tennessee congressman. Doesn't actually say, but I'm going to assume. So, fascinating to watch, and we'll just have to see how this all plays out because it is being used as some kind of, it's the who benefits question, and I don't know that it's clear right now. But there's another UFO thing here that I want to quickly touch on. This is from dailymail.co.uk. Exclusive. The truth is out there. Skinny cylindrical UFO flying near Baghdad is seen in 6 new thermal images taken by U.S. spy drones last year. And the bullet points here, images of a UFO were taken from a video filmed by a thermal camera in a United States Air Force Reaper drone in May of 2022. These 6 images appear to show a skinny cylindrical shaped object over northeastern Iraq, close to Baghdad, moving across the screen from left to right. The object also didn't have any visible wings or fins, likely ruling it out as a glider, and was flagged as a UFO by officials, a source says. So, something as to tie into the January 6th thing we started with today, and specifically the CNN clip of the gal from Axios saying, "Oh, look for this more, the elite hand-picking individuals to report on things, to craft the narrative," and all that kind of stuff, right? If you think of in those terms, this story is actually kind of interesting because it goes through a bunch of stuff here in the actual details. The object also didn't have any visible wings, blah, blah, blah. The USAF source said the UFO had no visible propulsion and appeared to be under, quote-unquote, intelligent control. The images were leaked to journalist and documentary filmmaker Jeremy Corbell and investigative journalist George Knapp, and released shortly after midnight on Weaponized, their new podcast. And for those unfamiliar, Jeremy Corbell has been doing UFO type of documentaries for a while. George Knapp is famously the sort of like, he used to be anyway, the weekend guy at Coast to Coast AM. George Norrie was the week guy, but every once in a while George Knapp would come in and fill in on the weekends. Isn't he one of the guys that would do that? Or am I mistaken on that?
I don't recall, but it sounds
about right. Maybe chat will fix it if I'm wrong. But in any case, these are, pretty well-known sort of UFO journalists or filmmakers or whatever you want to call it. And they have ties in with the who's the Tom DeLonge and that whole UFO thing institution that he has
to the
going
Stars
on.
Academy.
Yeah, to the Stars Academy. So there's a lot of tie in there with intelligence. So just keeping that in mind. I'm not saying these guys are intelligence, but again, it's about being chosen to distribute the narrative that perhaps they would want. So it's something to keep in mind, and we'll probably see more of this type of credible reporting about this topic. And
yeah, well, to have this have just happened in 2022 is interesting because, even up to a year ago or something, the only reports that you would ever get would be, from 7 years before, like 2014
the
type of
from
thing. Now that it only takes a year for some military UFO sighting to come in, it's pretty impressive.
I have noticed that pattern where the revealing of whatever it is, whatever the psyop is happening much, much sooner. If you think about COVID, it was about 3 years, but now it's all coming out, And but also you got the January 6th thing came out fairly quickly. I mean, 2 years. It's all the stuff comes out. So just keeping in mind the timing of everything, the revealing process. So something to keep an eye on, of course. And
here's something weird. These girls be practicing witchcraft.
This girl must be practicing witchcraft.
Yeah.
Headline: Nearly 30 fainting schoolgirls rushed to hospital after playing with Ouija board.
Yeah.
A group of nearly 30 girls nearly 30. Was it
they do mention how it's 28.
Okay. A group of nearly 30 girls were rushed to the hospital after playing with a Ouija board at a school in Colombia. The 28 youngsters passed out while using the seance set at Galeras Educational Institution in Pasto in south of the country. Quote, there were 28 possible cases of anxiety in school students, said Hugo Torres, head of the Galeras Educational Institution in Galeras. How many times can I say Galeras? Info on the students' diagnosis has not been revealed. However, many parents blame the in-school use of Ouija boards. Ouija boards? Multiple?
Seems like
school?
This is a well-known thing at the school.
Was there a class? We just had Pokemon cards in my school, also known as spirit or talking board, which spells out messages in a mysterious way.
And then it goes into the history of Ouija boards, which I don't know that we need to necessarily go through all that, but it says down here too how they might have suffered fainting, anxiety, other symptoms before being admitted to hospital. Mr. Torres continued, quote, given the reported cases, a series of comments were unleashed on the community that, rather than helping to resolve the situation, led to confusion and an adverse environment for our work.
Mm-hmm.
As if a Ouija board is not something that causes adverse environments, but I guess people fainting from doing seances does. The students were referred to the local municipal hospital according to protocols in place. Directors and teachers accompanied the students during the evaluation process. The respective parents and or guardians were informed of the situation at the time. The school is waiting for the medical reports before providing an update on the incident. Many parents believe their children have been using Ouija boards in class. One mother who works in the hospital said she saw 3 or 4 children arrive after fainting. She said, quote, parents, you have to move, investigate what's happening at school because our children cannot continue in this situation. Our children always have a good breakfast, and it cannot be said that what's happening is due to a lack of food.
That's interesting.
In November, another group of teenagers in Colombia also collapsed after reportedly using a Ouija board. Can you just stop using Ouija boards? Does not seem to be working out for you guys.
So interesting.
Teachers at the Agricultural Technical Institute in Hato are said to have found 11 students aged 13 to 17 pass out in a corridor. The teenagers were suffering from violent vomiting, abdominal pain, and muscle spasms. While most were treated at a health center nearby, 5 were taken to the Manuela Beltran Hospital. Jose Pablo Tolosa Rondon, the mayor of Hato, said, quote, the children were passed out at the time they were found. They were short of breath, and thick drool was coming out of their mouths. Others say that they consumed water from a container. Others that they came from a pool that they had been given something to eat. I think something might be
they ate before they went swimming. Bad move.
So they're fainting and vomiting. I mean, that could happen, but I don't know. So there could be a spiritual dimension to this. Demons could be coming out and making them sick. But it also brings to mind the social media Tourette's contagion. Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Where there was like a tennis team or something, and there's like 30 girls or 13 or something like that, and they all at the same time came down with Tourette's because they all followed and sort of adored this social media influencer that had Tourette's. Now, Tourette's, not a contagious disease, but because of the sort of social workings of, a group of school-aged girls, and the sort of celebritization of the influencer culture, things like that, they all came down with Tourette's, which was really bizarre, and it was confusing everybody. I wonder,
I think what they call
it. Yeah, right. I wonder if there's like a social media influencer, a TikTok person. We've been following witch talk, and the witchcraft on social media, sort of, what's the word? I mean, it's been a phenomenon, the acceptance of a mass amount of witchcraft related content gaining a lot of steam on social media. It kind of sounds like maybe there's some pretty popular, maybe occult influencer or witchcraft influencer that all these kids, follow and see every day, and maybe that's where they got their Ouija boards and just learned how to do it or whatever. And maybe it could be something like that. Maybe they saw the content of this person who passes out after using the Ouija board or something like that, and it just infects them like the Tourette's did.
Yeah. So I just pulled up this article from last month, February 13th, how teens recovered from the TikTok tics, and it talks about that whole thing.
Oh, and they recovered. That's good.
Yeah,
news.
That's good. Yeah. It says here that, but similar outbreaks have happened for centuries. Mysterious symptoms can spread rapidly in a close-knit community, especially one that has endured a shared stress. The TikTok tics are one of the largest modern examples of this phenomenon. They arrived at a unique moment in history when a once-in-a-century pandemic spurred pervasive anxiety and isolation, and social media was at times the only way to connect and commiserate. Now, experts are trying to tease apart the many possible factors, internal and external, that made these teenagers so sensitive to what they watched online. Then it goes into 4 of the 5 adolescents were diagnosed with a psychiatric disorder, and 1/3 reported past traumatic experiences, according to a study from University of Calgary that analyzed nearly 300 cases from 8 countries. In new research,
how did they recover?
Let's see. Adolescents. Historians looking back thousands of years. Why do they keep talking about how this has happened for thousands and thousands of years?
They're not going to tell us. They're not going to tell us how they recovered.
Clusters, neurologists that detect the national news. Also, mass psychogenetic illness has occurred. The pandemic crash. Okay. Aiden was raised as a boy. Now he's a girl. What is happening to this article? TikTok influencers.
Scan it quietly and find the answer. But the point is, it seems like it's becoming much more, accepted that this social media thing is its own, I don't know about accepted, but it's sort of evidently the social media contagion is more than just morals. I mean, going back again to the ban on TikTok because of the Chinese influence, soft power on a whole generation. I mean, let's just start with the Tourette's. If a bunch of schoolgirls can get Tourette's from being fed social media content, that's a pretty interesting weapon to wield if you have, if you're at war with a country, or if you're even quietly trying to undermine a country's economy, to be able to even pass on like 0.1% of the TikTok audience and give them Tourette's, or maybe have them fall ill to some Ouija board trend or something. That's a pretty powerful soft power to wield by just having an app on everybody's phone.
Yeah, it says here, at the heart of the rehabilitation program, based on years of experience with functional disorders, was a cognitive behavioral approach that addressed the psychological root of the problem and helped children develop better ways to cope. The patients needed to accept two things: that they did not have Tourette's and that their twitches were partly under their control. They had to want to get
partly
better.
What?
And that their twitches were partly under their control.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was a psychosomatic twitch. They just sort of wanted to have twitches and acted them out, and then had to not want them. Surprise, surprise.
The only thing that's different about the Ouija board story and this TikTok tick thing is a T, you know? All right. Nobody got that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
T, witches, twitches, witches, witch.
Gotcha.
Our whole
All right.
theme
Well,
here.
with that, we should thank some of our very talented artists.
Yeah, we should. Okay.
Break.
This is break. Don't just consume the content, but become the content. Become the content.
All right, we're going to take a quick break to thank our producers who come in with their God-given talent. We appreciate all of you coming in with all the different ways you can support the show, whether it's time, talent, or treasure. And spend the time to thank our talented folks here. If you get value out of the show, provide value back by helping us build the the culture behind the community here at Canary Cry News Talk. We're going to start off with a speak pipe.
Please leave a message after the tone.
At the tone, please record your message.
Leave a message. Beep.
Message.
Go to canarycrynewstalk.com or canarycrysupply.com, canarycryt-shirt-council.com. It doesn't matter. Any Canary Cry News Talk website, and you will see a green tab on the right side or the bottom. Click on it. It'll open up a little window that allows you to record a message of up to 90 seconds, and it will be sent to us, and we shall play it or not. This one is from, we got another one here from Modern Day Bible Study.
Hi, Canary Cry listeners. An example sentence under the definition of the word religion states, consumerism is the new religion, which I feel I must debate. Let's first start out with the word religion itself being a noun. Just wait. Is religion a person, place, or thing? All of those you can't escape. A verb is what sparked in my mind, for you have faith, believe, and meditate. You may have these things in a person or a place, but these move with you, along with your grace. Moving is an action which our God works at an eternal pace. Praising his name for all we've been given is a sacred fate. Galatians chapter 5 verse 14 says what's great. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And with this verse, we shall not separate. A conclusion to this observation shows how I see religion as a verb. And if we look that way, maybe we can end the hate. Bringing you extra energy with Basil and Gons, and remember, think outside the cage. Is that 90 seconds? Forgive me, guys.
Got it. It was right on. Right on.
Was
90
it?
seconds.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Modern Day Bible Study.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Fun. What a creative set of content that she's created for us. It's fun.
Sounds like a modern day Bible study or something. I don't know. It's crazy. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. We have some audio production.
Audio production.
Something from Jonathan F.
Jonathan F.
Says, hello, here's a weekly montage of Brandon gaffes. Hopefully this will take some of the news shock off of everyone's shoulders. God bless and enjoy. It's under a minute. I'm going to go ahead and play the whole thing.
I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid. these terrible headaches, diagnosed with having anyway, they had to take the top of my head on a couple times, see if I had a brain. I'm not stupid. Come in and do things that I don't think you'll learn in medical school, nursing school. She'd whisper in my ear. I couldn't understand her. She'd whisper, she'd lean down. She'd actually breathe on me to make sure that there was a connection, human connection. I'm not stupid.
Thank you very much,
Fine. You heard him, folks.
You heard him. I've been saying Joe has been right about a lot of things. Just doesn't get enough credit. All right. Thank you, Jonathan F., for that. We're going to do art.
One art, please.
And we have one from Sir Dove, Knight of Respeltia.
One art, please, from Dove.
And it is accompanied with a note that reads, "Peace. For today's artwork, I made a flyer for the upcoming Florida meetup next month. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do. I'll keep praying for yins."
Yes, love it. Go to canarycrimemeetups.com, folks. Go check out all the meetups going on there. And one of them is the Florida meetup. And this is a great flyer, of course. We've got the sort of Miami colors and stylings, Canary Cry Florida meetup in sort of a teal and pink glowing there up at the top. April 29th, 11 to 1 p.m. Plaza de la Constitucion at the Bridge of Lions in St. Augustine, Florida. RSVP to Jax Dagger, Jax Dagger at yahoo.com. And in the bottom left, we've got man, that looks like a fun-loving Florida canary. He's wearing his sort of Miami-style shirt, blue shirt with little canaries and pink flowers on it.
This is a great Hawaiian shirt. I want this for real. It's got the derpy-eyed basil canary and then the Gons canary and a flower, pink flower.
We'll talk to Isaac. Maybe we can get maybe we could get a Hawaiian-style shirt in the supply drop, or maybe do a print for the Canary Cry T-shirt Council. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Dove, I see you, fashion designer. He's looking very laid back, very happy, this canary. He's got his hat, his wide-brimmed sort of Miami-style hat as well. Looking good there, Canary.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Sir Dove.
Yep, appreciate it, Sir Dove.
Very, very important service you do for the meetups here.
Yep, fantastic. Keep it up. All right, we have a couple microfictions.
Microfiction. Microfiction.
This first one is from Runksmash.
Repulsed by the mouse, Mike staggers back, only to find the door is gone. Noticing his dismay, the purple lady says sweetly, "Aw, hon, ain't no way back. What's your name? And I'll see if I got your reservation." Mike is entranced and mutters, "Mike." Thank you very much, Runk Smash.
Yep, thank you. All right, we have another one from Stephen S.
Lone scums by my tech AI security system alerted the police's SWAT team of multiple active shooters at a Central Highs football field. The marching band with color guard laid prone on the grass for the remainder of the rehearsal.
Yes.
This is in regards to the article, "In a Violent America, Safety Becomes a Sales Pitch,"
yes.
That we brought to the show a few episodes back, sort of condemning or criticizing the school safety industrial complex.
Yeah, the products to help schools remain safe.
The products, but also the motivation of the industry leaders.
Got to keep the problem persisting, which is school shooters. Yeah.
Problem, reaction, solution. Thank you very much, Stefan S.
Thank you, Stefan S. And thank you to all of our producers who come in with their talent. We really appreciate it. It really
That's right. If you're a creative person, an artist, a musician, a writer, whatever you do, create something for the show, then head on over to canarycry.art, canarycry.art, where you can upload the show there, and we'll be happy to feature it.
Upload art, yes.
Yeah, you upload the art. You upload it to our
show. So they could upload the show.
Did I say show?
You did, yeah.
Well, upload whatever you want. I think there's a megabyte limit, but canarycry.art. And while I'm at it, I will say, if you have any articles you want to send in, have us look at, potentially go on the show, go to canarycry.report, where you can fill out the form, and man, does it keep all these articles people are sending nice and tidy on our back end. Best way to get it on the show, send it to canarycry.report.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make a note that those are some of the jingles that we might need. The canarycry.art, canarycry.report.
I'll tell the Jingle Boys. The Jingle Boys were just asking.
Yeah. All right, we got one more thing to go over here, and this is Nephilim update. Nephilim update. You should add a Black Awakening jingle to that list too, because I think Black Awakening has something to do with this. This is dailymail.co.uk. The headline: Terrifying moment. United passenger threatens mass murder before trying to stab flight attendant in neck with broken spoon and attempting to open emergency exit in midair.
Fun.
Yes. By the way, this is video footage. We have the footage here. There's not any profanity. There is some strong language a couple times.
Aggressive.
Yeah, it's pretty aggressive. The gentleman in question, his name is Francisco Severo Torres, 33 years old. And he was terrifying passengers on this LA to Boston flight. And here's the clip. This is a gal who captured the moment. And there's a few things to point out while this is going. The audio's not great, but we can stop it at any point and talk about some of the things that he says. And, I know that it would be easy to dismiss the stuff as just the rantings of somebody crazy, or, maybe they're off their meds, or maybe they're on drugs or something. But given the concept of a Black Awakening, of some kind of spiritual thing that takes place with hijacking individuals through ritual, through some kind of gateway or doorway they might have opened, and having these things manifest in these types of tense, violent, and unsafe situations, pretty common with the types of descriptions of a Black Awakening event that the late Russ Dizdar had talked about for years. So here's a clip. We'll talk about some things that he says here.
So where's the Homeland Security with the gun? Because I'm waiting for them to point the gun at me so I can show everybody that I won't die when I take every bullet in that clip to wherever in my body they shoot it, and then I will kill every man on this plane.
So the part that I don't think is on the clip is he's threatening to take over the plane, and then he's freaking out because Homeland Security is not there to stop him. That's his little rant going on. Okay.
So where are they? Where's Homeland Security? Pull the gun. Pull the gun. Where are they? You don't have Homeland Security. You're not gonna try and stop me then, huh? You son, you're all cowards. Okay.
The crowd.
Okay. You know what? Because you're gonna see them shoot me down, and I'm gonna get back up. Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, baby. Hey, Bianca. I love you, Bianca. I'm coming.
Really quickly, he says, "I am Beelzebub." He mentions his name as Beelzebub. He'll bring it up again.
Hey, baby. Hey, Bianca. I love you, Bianca. I'm coming for you. No Homeland Security? With Balthazar on the plane? My dad lied to all of you. My father called himself Dracula from the beginning of... Why are you even talking? Shut up, Jason. Just shut up. Nobody cares what you say. Yeah, he's been ruining humanity. If you're a human... No, shut up and sit down, please. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Oh, the baby's crying.
There should be Homeland Security. Step away from me. I don't care if I'm scared of you. Why should we be scared when we have God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit? Well, tell them to bring SWAT to shoot me down, because they're going to have to shoot me down today. Remember that. Where are they diverting us? Because wherever it is, there's going to be a bloodbath everywhere. You can run away. You can all run away if you want. If you're men, you can run. I won't kill you. I'm Balthazar.
Okay.
I am Balthazar. Wow.
Balthazar.
This
Yeah,
guy
so
was having a breakdown.
Something. So I cut out the audio there because it's not as important. You know, he's screaming the same thing over and over, and then he gets into the aisle and he's holding that broken spoon, I guess, and kind of holding it up like he's about to hurt someone. This is when, you know, the crowd kind of starts getting a little uncomfortable. Goes towards one of the flight attendants, but there's enough people. He's not a big guy, so he was taken down fairly easily, it looks like, and detained and everything. But, you know, again, is it some guy who's just having a schizophrenic breakdown, or is there some kind of spiritual thing going on here? Because he talks about both, yeah. And usually, yeah, that's the conversation, right? That there's sort of a fine line there when it comes to those issues. But yeah, he called himself Balthazar. So this character, or this individual, let me find it. Oh, by the way, how old do you think he is?
He looks like 30-ish, maybe.
Yeah. Specifically, of course, 33.
Oh,
surprise!
They always are.
Surprise! He's 33 years old, folks.
Yeah. Wow.
Let's see. Where is the actual thing in the article that mentions that he is? Well, let me just find it here with the search term. Sorry, I thought I had this ready to go, and for some reason it's not. It's not ready. What is going on? Okay. Well, the one part that I wanted to ask you, Basil, what do you think he said? He says, I'm Balzabar, Was it
Balzabar or Balthazar?
Balthazar? Hold on.
Sounded like you said Balthazar.
Let me try to get the exact spelling here, because that was one of the key things here. Yes, Balthazar, Balthazar. He is thought in early Christian tradition, so that's Roman Catholic Church, Eastern Orthodox, Anglican, and Lutherans. They believe that he was one of the three wise men. Of course, the Bible doesn't mention the number of wise men, but that's part of the early
or their names
tradition, or their names or anything. But you know, tradition has it because of a manuscript from 500 AD that mentioned these three names. One of them being Balthazar, the magician. So he keeps saying that he's him, and then he says something about his father calling himself Dracula and how he's been deceiving humanity or something like that. But he's getting distracted by people standing up and trying to tell him to calm down. You know, part of me would have been like, hey, just let him finish his thought there. You know, what are you saying? Your dad is who now? Doing what?
Yeah.
But there's a specific part right here. Hold on, let me see if
Why should we be scared when we have God the Father?
Right there. Why should you be scared if you have Balthazar? And then what do you think he says after that?
Why are you scared? Why should we be scared when we have God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit? Well,
Balthazar, the Holy Spirit.
Oh, that's interesting. Play it again.
Why are you scared? Why should we be scared when we have God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit? Well, tell them.
It sounds like he says God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
Why are you scared? Why should we be scared when we have God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit? Well, tell them to bring SWAT to shoot
something
me down.
like that. So he's I think he was mentioning himself Balthazar as one of the Trinity or something.
Well, if he's calling himself Balthazar, he's making a reference to him being a magician that was there at the birth of Christ.
Right.
And then, you know, having this sort of interesting Christological reference to the Trinity. Mm-hmm. Why are you scared? Well, it's because you're a crazy person screaming on an airplane about killing everyone. On the airplane. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I mean, certainly a troubled individual.
Sure.
I don't
know.
All right.
You know, it's
the
kind of thing.
Maybe he is an ancient magician and his dad is Dracula. I don't know. How would I know?
Well, I mean, it's no laughing matter for the people that were on the plane, and you know, thankfully nobody got hurt in this situation, and it wasn't a bigger deal. But it's the kind of thing. It just reminds me of a lot of what Russ Dizdar talked about, because he mentioned the idea of bodies being taken over, this sort of hijacking, and these demonic entities being able to manifest. You know, Russ Dizdar used to always talk about that, manifest through these people, these individuals who have been programmed. and they have trauma and they have all these issues going on. And so that's why it's sort of a fine line between, is this just a mental condition or is there something spiritual going on? Well, probably all the above, right? So something to keep in mind. And we're seeing stories like this or this type of thing taking place. The more recent one that I remember is the guy who killed his family because he thought that they had serpent blood. He mentioned the Nephilim and stuff, and he brought up this whole idea that his children are infected with serpent seed or something like that. So it's interesting to watch in the context of Christian nationalism and all that stuff, how it serves that narrative of like, hey, these religious people are crazy. They want to take down the plane and they're looking for homeland security and whatever. Yeah. But just thought it was an interesting Nephilim update because, of course, demonic entities being the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, maybe having an opportunity to surface and cause some issues on this airplane.
And this is why you don't play with Ouija boards at school, folks. This is part of the reason. Both you get Tourette's and you'll be convinced that your dad is Dracula and try to take over a plane. Yeah, that's a crazy one. Well, like you said, we do see more and more reports of this as time goes on, and it has been sort of predicted before that we'll see more frequent sort of references to this sort of thing. I think we saw some of that during the bath salt days too.
The zombie bath salt people eating people's faces or was he holding a Bible or something?
Yeah, there's a couple of them, and I think there was one where, he referenced being a biblical character or something. I don't know. It's been a few years. But yeah, okay. Keep an eye out. Don't play with Ouija boards at school, kids.
Don't mess.
And don't mess and don't meth. And with that, I want to thank our producers for making this show possible. Thanks for listening to this episode, folks. Let's see. We're going to be back on Friday, so we appreciate your participation. Episode 600. Yeah, so it's a special day. Maybe if you haven't produced a show before, this might be a good one. Come in for episode 600. Do we want to do a special, 600 thing? I mean, obviously, 600.
Obviously, 600 Bitcoin is our minimum.
Bitcoin would be great.
600 Bitcoin.
600 pennies, 600 dimes, $600, 600 Bitcoin.
I like the 600 Bitcoin. It is $13 million worth.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would solve a lot of problems for us, actually. Yeah. Okay, well, get creative with it, folks. And thank you to our executive producers for today. That is Sir Martin K, Night of the Wrong Timeline, and Felicia D.
Yes,
and alert, Gons, alert.
Oh,
we've got breaking news coming in from the Canary Cry T-Shirt Council.
Hey, that means we can blow the horn.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. You've been practicing, I see. Well, since we last checked here, I see that we have 2 new members of the Canary Cry T-Shirt Council. That's right, 2 more most important in the world. And I think
does that put us over the line?
Does that mean we hit our goal? Yeah, we needed 3 more. Then Chad came in, and 2 more makes 3. Holy smokes, folks!
We did it!
Look at that. We actually hit a goal for once in our life. Well, another reason why we want to have a standing ovation, a rousing round of applause for the 2 new most important in the world, starting with most important person in the world, Brant W. Thank you very much. Most important person in the world, Brant W. And last but not least, we've got most important person in the world, Carol F.
Carol F. Thank you very much. Carol, putting us across the finish line.
Brant.
Yeah.
And Carol, we did it. We made it to our goal.
I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. I feel like we're the Jamaican bobsled team, carrying that.
That's true.
That bobsled across the finish line.
We've worked very hard, and now we're the most slipperiest boys. I will say we did have a stretch goal planned, but we're not going to hold our breath. But you can still help us reach our stretch goal. You've got until midnight tonight to go to CanaryCryT-shirtCouncil.com and sign up. for the Canary Cry T-shirt Council. Of course, this is the only way to receive officially licensed Canary Cry News Talk T-shirts. You will also have the opportunity to help make the decision on what the T-shirt actually will be every quarter. And if you stay on the council, you'll just keep receiving T-shirts 4 times a year, once per quarter. It's very exciting. These T-shirts are not only support the show, or the T-shirt Council not only supports the show, but the T-shirts, which we send for free as a reward, are created by a Canarian. Isaac does the printing. Your support of the T-shirt Council not only keeps the show going, but also, we keep everything in the family here. You'll be supporting a Canarian just like you, who's been so faithful and helping us out with so many things. So there you go. Go to CanaryCryT-shirtCouncil.com. We did technically have a stretch goal of 25 more people. Ooh. So if you want to get us towards that, feel free to go do it. You're free to sign up after the deadline, but just know that you'll want to sign up before the deadline to get in for this first quarter. Thank you very much, everybody. Feels good to hit a goal for once.
Yeah, you did it.
And other than that, thank you to all of our producers with their treasure and their talent. But of course, thank you to our producers who come in and work hard and give us their time, starting with the Clippies.
Flippy. Clipping all those videos. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Canary Cry Clips channel on YouTube and Odyssey is where you can go find clips of this show. Long ones, short ones, ones in the middle. There's, no matter how long you like your clips to be, there's a clip for you. It's an excellent way to share the show or review whole segments of the show for your own research purposes. Canary Cry Clips on YouTube and Odyssey. And thank you to our Clippies, of course, the fantastic Emsworth and Faye Liverin, but we also have a couple additions to the team. We've got producer Jolmes and Laura who are helping out over there with the Clippies as well.
And Laura, thank you.
Yeah, so head on over to the Canary Cry Clips channel and drop a little note, drop a message, say thank you to Emsworth and Faye Liverin and welcome Jolmes and Laura to the team. Yeah. And that would be hard to do without the timestampers.
Timestamps. Come on, computer, do it.
Timestamp. It's hard work. Timestamp.
Yes, thank you very much. The timestamps go into so much of our back-end processes. We're so happy that the timestampers are so good at their job. And I want to thank producer Jade Bouncerson for doing the timestamps for episode 598.
Thank you, Jade.
And thank you to the social media gal.
Social media consultant.
Thanks so much. Social media, follow us.
Thank you today, Miss G of the OV and the Deep Rivers, for making sure the art gets out on the social media. And head on over to CanaryCryMeetups.com.
Meetups.
Canary Cry Meetup.
Yeah, go check it out. Meetups are an essential part of your daily diet, meeting with real human beings, other listeners of the show. We guarantee there are some in your area. It's just a matter of luring them out to see the light of day. But we believe that you can do it. So if you go over to CanaryCryMeetups.com, you'll see a whole list of meetups that are going on. And there should be one near you. If there's not one near you, you know what that means. It means you got to put one on yourself. So you just send us a date, send us a time, let us know, and we'll put it on the website. Coming up, March 11th, the Alaska meetup in Eagle River, Alaska. We got the Missouri meetup, March 11th in Lampe, Missouri, Dogwood Canyon, Lampe, Missouri on the 11th. We've got the Germany meetup going on in Munchen. How do you say that, you think?
Munchen.
Munchen. Yeah, thank you. However you say that. We should look it up. It's on March 11th. Go check it out at the California Bean on Dockhour Street. We got St. Augustine, Florida meetup. We saw the art for that. Thank you, Sir Dove. On April 29th. That's going on at the Plaza de la Constitucion at the Bridge of the Lions. We also have the Houston meetup. This is the new one. We got a new Houston meetup, folks, on May 13th at Tom Bass Park Pavilion, Pavilion 6. You can RSVP. You can hit up the host, davyfrost@gmail.com, about that one. Go to canarycrymeetups.com and get in contact with these hosts. RSVPing is a very polite thing to do. You can ask questions, learn more about what's going on over there, but just let them know that you're interested if there's one near you. If there's not one near you, like I said, just let us know about it. We will tell the world, and you can meet some Canarians in your area. Wouldn't it be fun to have some friends who listen to the show and you guys can talk about all sorts of crazy stuff? That'd be fun. All right.
I was mentioned Glen Rose, Texas meetup just because it's right after.
Oh, yeah, sure.
May 27th.
I never know when to stop reading that list.
Yeah, well, there's only two more
there's
on
Glen
there.
Rose, Texas as well.
Yeah, and then
of course, Eastern North Carolina, September 2nd. I thought it was on September 9th.
Yeah, well.
Okay, we'll figure it out. Nope, it's September 2nd. Okay, go check it out. Put one on yourself. We'll see you at the meetup. Reviews, folks. Go leave ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. It's incredibly helpful. Gons, we have been climbing the charts recently.
Climbing, really?
Climbing, yes.
Are we back to where we were, or are we breaking new ground?
Close. We're almost in top 100 in our category overall, which we had been in during the pandemic. We were solid 100s overall. We fell out of that the past year, but we are so close to being back, and that is wonderful. Let's see. I want to give a shout out to South Korea, which we're doing pretty good in South Korea. Right. South Africa loves us. What's up, South Africa? Poland, Finland, and Nigeria, all huge fans. Of course, the U.S., we see you. But we climb these charts because people leave ratings and reviews. It's a huge help. Not only is it nice for us to read, and we will read them, but it's nice that the algorithms, those people, the AI people that have rights and feel love.
Be nice to the algos.
And you can be nice by leaving us ratings and reviews, because that influences the algorithms. It shares the show with other people. Hundreds of new people find the show when we get, around 5 ratings and reviews every week. We're doing okay. We need a few more. This week. So please go to Apple Podcasts. Most of you are listening on Apple Podcasts right now. Go leave a rating and a review. Why don't you? Thank you very much. Thank you to Jam for the links. Thank you to... Let's see. Do we have some people send stories in?
Lacey H was the only addition from after last episode where we thank people. So
okay.
Yep,
well,
thank you, Lacey H.
Thank you to Lacey H for sending us in an article at canarycry.report. Thank you to Clank for the assistance. And other than that, folks, just share the show. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Head on over to the Clips channel. Post some of those clips on your social media. But, you don't have to share the show in sort of a totally normal way. Some people want to express themselves in ways that, normal society may frown upon once in a while. I don't know. Sometimes you just want to let inspiration strike in a way that seems almost otherworldly. That's sort of how some people view genius in this world. And if you're a genius, which we have many geniuses who listen to this show, and it's about time they put their genius to work. Why don't you share the show by... becoming the #1 cable news TV hosts in the country, have the most watched cable show in America, and, sort of develop a close relationship with the United States intelligence community and sort of pose as an anti-establishment sort of maverick. Of course, some people will hate you, some people will love you, but the point is that, you know, you can sort of develop this brand for yourself where people might trust that when you come out and sort of show them some unseen footage from some sort of historical event, that perhaps you're earnest in wanting to sort of bring justice to the people or the country, or just have some sort of passion for truth, when in reality you're simply getting a paycheck from the CIA and an ongoing black budget program called Operation Mockingbird. And one great thing you could do once you accomplish all of that is, release some unheard footage of this podcast. It will inflame the political establishment. It will make your ratings go just through the roof. And it'll give people an opportunity to hear some secret recordings of a podcast they've never heard before. That will shine some light onto how the mainstream corporate news media crafts narratives for their own political and economic gains. You know, you don't need conspiracy when incentives align, and there's only one way to truly internalize that fact, and that's by listening to Canary Crime News Talk. That's just one way that you can share the show. You don't have to do it that way. If you need any more instructions, we call it rattling cages, and all you got to do is walk right up to them, grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Gons, any last words?
MK Ultra! MK Ultra!
That is all.
Yeah. A good point. Good point, Gons. All right, everybody. Make sure to go to canarycryt-shirtcouncil.com. Don't miss your chance. This is, because you'll have to wait a little bit if you don't sign up by tonight at midnight. But thank you so much for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
For God's sake. This is not about freedom or personal choice. Armageddon's on the way. Give me a break.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Feed him more.
Yeah. Sinful generation!
They all want to share their data.
I love the Great Reset.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
We will hunt you down to make you pay.
I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid. And I had these terrible headaches, diagnosed with having anyway, they had to take the top of my head on a couple times, see if I had a brain. I'm not stupid. Come in and do things that I don't think you'll learn in medical school, nursing school. She'd whisper in my ear. I couldn't understand her. She'd whisper, she'd lean down. She'd actually breathe on me to make sure that there was a connection, human connection. I'm not stupid.
Wives in the cosmos, children in the space lane.
I'm an adult in a spaceship.
Supersonic space planes screamed to life and the vehicle swooped upward on board. The passengers experienced a 3 G's of force from the burst of extreme acceleration and watched the blue sky fade into space.
In the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Oh, yeah.
In the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Yes. Do it, Richard. Do it, Jeff. Do it for humanity.
To all you kids down there, I was once a child with a dream. Now I'm an adult in a spaceship.
He can accomplish it. You can too. Big windows, cool. Rocket ship, cool. Space plane, cool.
Nukes,
cool.
Blowing stuff up,
cool. Space plane, astronaut, rocket ship.
Serious anchor.
We have Bezos. He's a human. Just look at him. Go to the bathroom in bags. He can go to the bathroom in the cosmos. It changed everything.
We're all gonna die.
Wives in space, children in the cosmos, with your best friend brother. Wives in the cosmos, children in the space plane.
We are headed to space.
Give me a break.
To be afflicted shall kill you. You shall be hated of all nations. My namesake in earthquakes, anomalous places. This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all world for witness unto all nations. Then the end shall come.
Generative AI, like OpenAI's ChatGPT, could completely revamp how digital content is developed, said Nina Schick advisor, speaker, and AI thought leader, told Yahoo Finance Live. Quote, I think we might reach 90% of online content generated by AI.
I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world.
I will say one thing, though. I love Canary Cry News Talk. It's got everything. It's the best podcast. I think Outside the Cage. You know what I mean? Hit the subscribe button. It's not fake news. Not at all.
Goodbye, everybody. And that's the end. And everyone says, oh, that was fun. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I'm out of here. Bye.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support.